All right, good evening. It's 7:06, and we're going to open the regular meeting. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Whitaker, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Anything to change, Dr. Ritchie?
No, nothing. No, there's no changes.
All right. Since there are no changes, I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I move we approve the agenda as presented. Second.
We got a motion by Member Gattuso, seconded by Member Moran to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's carried unanimously. Anybody in the public who wishes to address the board on, I jumped ahead of myself here. Anybody in the public who wishes to add something to our agenda in the future may do so by notifying the superintendent at least 2 weeks prior to a regularly scheduled board meeting. And if that item is within our purview, it will be added to one of our future meetings. If there's anybody here tonight that wishes to address the board on any item that is on our agenda, you may do so when that item comes up before us. Come on up to the podium. We ask you to identify yourself, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak to that agenda item. If there are multiple speakers for that agenda item, there'll be a limit of 20 minutes for comments on one agenda item or an agenda item. If there's anybody here tonight that wishes to address the board on any item that is, or anything that is not on tonight's agenda, in a second, I'll let you know. You may come up and to the podium, identify yourself. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board. And if there happens to be multiple speakers on that non-agenda item, it is limited to 3 minutes. So with that, is there anybody here tonight that wishes to address the board on any item that is not on tonight's agenda? You may do so. Come on up. All right, seeing no one come up, we will go on to reports, and we're going to start with our student representative report. And Layla, welcome.
Hi, I'm Layla Navarro, and I'm Los Banos High School's board reporter. And today we're going to start with Pacheco High School's board report. Pacheco's counselors have been busy hosting several events, including a Fresno State admissions presentation, job application workshops, attendance clinics for the 11th and 12th grade, a scholarship support workshop, Merced College application support, an RJ conference, academic success workshops for 9th and 11th grade, coffee with the counselors, and makeup attendance clinic for seniors, as well as a lunch tabling event. PHS held an Avid Learning S'more Night for any incoming 8th and 9th grade student with an excellent turnout. Students are still able to apply to join Avid next year. Just speak with your counselors. Pacheco High School is excited to launch Panther Hub in partnership with the LBUSD community schools located in P1. The hub will support Panther families while also offering workshops and resources to the LBUSD community. It will feature monthly 3-week family workshop series along with related Roar Flex student workshops during the school day. The board and community are invited to the Panther Hub launch on March 26th at 6 p.m. for a special What's on Your Plate opening event and a community tosado bar. The first full workshop series will begin in April. This partnership reflects our belief that when families, schools, and communities come together, student success grows stronger. In athletics, 5 Pacheco wrestlers qualified for the Section Masters Tournament, with Malaya Soto advancing to the state tournament in Bakersfield. Boys soccer and girls basketball both made playoffs, and girls soccer had the best season in PHS history. Spring sports are now underway, including the return of boys tennis for the first time in 4 years and the addition of stunt cheer. On Saturday, February 7th, Pacheco High School students competed in the academic decathlon in Merced, earning several medals and scholarships. Honor winners included Isla Gonzalez, Jace Campos. In the scholastic category, Matthew Reyes earned silver medals in essays. and economics, and was the team's top scoring student. Additional medalists included Hermes Lopez, Angel Abarca, Nicholas Arevalo, Ramneet Chauhan, Rex Betchart. Matthew Reyes also received the Coach Award. Robert Wayne Scholarship recipients were Christian Sanchez, Matthew Reyes, and Jace Campos. PHS MESA teams also competed at the MESA Day preliminary competition at Fresno State, where several teams earned medals and advanced to the regionals. First place teams included Match Escape Room, Harneet Sandhu, Frank Lopez, Christian Guerrero Rodas, Bio Breakthrough, Harneet Sandhu, Taman Chauhan, George Torres, and Moonbase, Ramneet Chauhan, Susanna Rodriguez. Additional medalists included teams in Bio Breakthrough, Moonbase. These teams will represent PHS at the regional competition at Fresno State on April 11th. Our PHS and LBHS Seroptimus clubs collaborated for this year's prom closet, which was held March 4th through the 6th at LBHS MPB. The event was successful with dresses and items for girls being a big hit. We hope that for next year there can be more community support. Now on to Los Baños School Board report. On March 3rd, the LBHS choirs had a successful concert at Pacheco High School along with Pacheco and Los Baños Junior High. On March 27th, the Los Baños High School Chamber Singers will be leaving for our trip to New York to perform in the Carnegie Hall. We will be performing with other elite high school assemblies from all over the country in a national concert chorus. It will be conducted by Dr. Alan Zabriskie from Texas Tech University, and the performance will feature works of art by prominent modern composers and a live orchestra. Today, we hosted the Every 15 Minutes program to raise awareness about the dangers of drinking and driving. Throughout the day, a student was symbolically removed every 15 minutes to present lives lost due to alcohol-related crashes. The program involves students, school staff, law enforcement, and first responders, creating a powerful demonstration of how one decision can impact many lives. The event encouraged students to reflect on responsibility, safety, and the importance of making safe choices. It served as an important reminder to our community about the real consequences of impaired driving. In addition, preparations for prom are underway, including organizing prom elections and continuing to plan for the event. Lastly, we wanted to show appreciation for our social workers. We created a poster to thank them for the important work that they do, and each of them received a personal thank you card along with a sweet treat as a small token of our gratitude. Spring sports have begun. All teams have begun playing on non-league games. A wrap-up of winter sports, wrestling had 3 individuals make it to the CIF state championship. Angelina Borelli was state finalist. Luke Borelli, state qualifier and state match winner. Michael Caleo, state qualifier and pursuing victory with honor award recipient. Boys soccer won their first round playoff match against Weston Ranch, making it to the quarterfinals before losing the number 1 seed to Lathrop. Girls basketball made the playoffs. They lost at the buzzer in their first round. Thank you.
Great. Great job, Layla. Thank you. Good job. Lots going on at the schools. Great. All right, on to item B, California School Employees Association. Is there anybody here tonight for a report? All right, seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to Los Baños Teachers Association. No one coming forward to give the report. All right. Next up is our facilities report. Ms. Monday, welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, board members. Board President Pereira, Superintendent Ritchie, and Executive Cabinet. I'm here to do my March facilities update. Don't have a presentation. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of where we are with some of the projects. Excuse me. So the Los Baños Junior High fire alarm project, we're finishing that up. They are up and running on their new panel. The admin and custodial staff have been trained on that, on how that operates on that new system, and they are completing the final testing this week, and then we'll start demolishing the old system. So they'll be there for about another month taking all that old stuff out. The Volta modernization and parking lot project. The two things that have been holding up this project, we are finally getting. So the doors have arrived at the door shop on March 11th. And then the MAPES panels, which are at Volta, has those weird windows at the top. They're all different shapes. We're putting MAPES panels into there, and they are being delivered to that door shop on March 18th, and they should come right out to the site. And once those two things, that's what's holding up the exterior of the building being closed up. So once that happens, they're going to really bump up their crews, get all the rest of the stuff done inside for us. They're out there planting trees, going to start seeding the grass. So our expected completion date is April 17th. I don't know if anybody's driven out there. I know I've had some questions about it. There's a huge water tank that they're building right next to the school at San Anela Water District. That has nothing to do with the school. It has nothing to do with our water, but because the proximity, and if you see how big it is, we're getting a lot of questions. So I don't know if any of the board members have, but I just wanted to kind of let you know that was going out there because it is quite large, right next to our school classrooms. The high school modernization project, we're well into demo over there. We're going to start demoing the gym locker rooms on Monday. We're starting to get the pad ready for the new administration building. That's a JTS building. It's a modular. That is going to be ready to be delivered to the site at the end of the month. We need to get our work done and get the foundation ready for that to come. The building might be sitting in that JTS yard waiting to be delivered, but it's going to be here. The H wing, we have found, I put here serious electrical issues. That might be a little, but they are pretty serious. So we've had to halt our work because electrical is the first thing you do in the walls. So we've had our electrical engineers come out. They have reviewed everything. We've come up with a new plan. They're having to do some drawings right now that they can provide to the contractors with that new, there were some missing electrical panels that were supposed to be there and they're not there. The outlets aren't grounded. So there's some serious, and we can't move past it. It's not things I can just kind of ignore. So we're taking the time to get those fixed properly. So it'll be good to go for another 50 years, 100 years. Early Education Center. So we are pretty much completed with our punch list items, with the exception of the landscaping, the signal, and a couple of fence panels. If you've driven by this last Saturday, they planted the turf in the interior of the campus. So that looks really nice. We are waiting for PG&E for the signal electrification. My contact with PG&E said they had pulled they were waiting for the encroachment permit from the city of Los Banos. So I'm hoping this week they got that settled and they should start being able to do that. And then we're going to start planning our ribbon cutting for that. So more information about that will be coming. The Miano restroom, we're working on the punch list items, and the contractor currently is refurbishing the turf area. They brought in, all their equipment, so they're having to redo that grass area. And then during spring break, we're going to be doing the ADA entrance that goes up to the front door. So we'll work on that during spring break, and then that project will be done. And then a future project that will be coming is the PHS new artificial turf baseball field. Those plans are with DSA. We should receive those stamped out plans by the end of the month. So in April, I plan on bringing the permission to bid the site work and the purchase of the turf material. And then our construction dates, if approved, our construction dates would be starting June 9th, and we should be completed by September 30th. And that is it. Any questions or any other projects I didn't touch on? You guys have questions on? Or?
I'm just concerned that I went to Los Banos High School and the outlets weren't grounded.
Did you get shocked ever?
I did not. Yeah.
Did you?
Maybe I didn't know it.
Yes, so that to me, that's quite alarming, right? We need to fix those things and the perception is, oh, they demoed all this stuff and now we're at a standstill, but it's because we have some serious work that we have to. And the good thing is this H-wing is kind of our guinea pig, right? We didn't know what we didn't know till we opened the walls, like the insulation not being there, about the non-grounded outlets. So we know now that those other wings are more than likely like that. So we're going to proceed that way. So when we come to those, we won't have these long halts like we're having in this first wing. So, that's the plan. So
Hopefully it all works.
that's the plan. We're going to cross our fingers.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gattuso.
Oh, sorry.
I was just curious, there's some classroom work going on at Lorena Velasco, or?
It must be a maintenance project.
Okay,
I can get
that's-
some information for you and email out to the board. I'm not sure. Do you know which room specifically?
In the back.
Okay, I will find out for you from our maintenance team.
I just didn't know how it was going. I was just kind of curious to know. Thank you.
Lorena Velasco, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anybody else?
Any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, on to community schools. Dr. Wheeler. Welcome.
No presentation. Good evening to everyone. So I don't have a presentation for everybody because February was kind of a hunker down, get into, settle into the Family Resource Center. So I do have our Family Resource Center kind of grand opening flyer that we've sent out to the district. The parents, so one's at English, one's in Spanish. And so we have officially opened. We've gotten some donations. We had families dropping by.
So this is a drop-in thing.
So, right, so this is the official, we do have an official Family Resource Center location now, across the street from the Bank of America on 6th and I, in the old bank building, old bank building. And, right, exactly. It's actually really neat to be in there. Some of the original wood paneling is still there and frosted glass. It's pretty cool. And the vault is still there. And actually, that's where we have part of our food pantry is in the vault, along with other storage and some things from the old. As I mentioned, we took some of the furniture from the old early learning center because they didn't need it at the new location, and we were so happy to take it. So we have some little kid stuff back there that we're going to eventually have at our permanent location when we have a family room area and a play area for the kids that come. So we are excited though at the new Family Resource Center. We do have a dedicated clothing closet that is helping with the new Panther closet that's at Pacheco. And so that is there also for the rest of the district, as well as a centralized pantry. And then we are going to be holding some family classes there as well as around the district. And so everything is really exciting to have a space beyond a single classroom in the back of Henry Miller, where we were doing everything before. And so we've just been settling in. You don't realize how long it takes to unpack everything until you get in there and start using it. So that's really all February is about. We'll be coming up in spring. Things are starting to pop. We will be part of the downtown spring street fair. So we will have a booth there and the Family Resource Center will be open. And so we will be there, meeting with the public. And then our next big event won't be until May. So I'll have time. I'll get the flyer to you, but it'll be May 16th will be the summer kickoff event. And this year, rather than having it at the community center, we're trying out the fairgrounds. So we're going to be in the O'Banion building at the fairgrounds. And of course, when I have the flyer, I'll share that with you. But just so you know, it will be Saturday, May 16th. So we'd love to see you come out. And it will be a resource fair like we had last year as well.
Any questions? Ms. Gattuso?
I'm sorry, I might have missed it. Did you say you were going to have a grand opening or a ribbon cutting or anything for the family?
No, we're
Resource
not
Center?
officially doing that with this kind of a soft opening. And we're
Because
going
you're
to
gonna
treat the
wait
street
for
fair
the-
as, yeah,
Okay.
the real grand opening will be once we move into the permanent location. But we're kind of like going to launch ourselves during the street fair, right? So we'll have everything out for that. We'll have our pop-up tent out front. We'll have all our signs and things so that people really start to get to know where we are. But yeah, I thought it might be more appropriate to have like an actual ribbon cutting when we're at a place that we can cut a ribbon at more easily.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Other questions?
One last piece, as I looked at Dr. Moran, I realized, so I do want to say we are going to be next month, in the next couple months, we are putting together now, working with Merced College on some really great vocational classes and hands-on activities for junior high through high school for summer. And so we're really excited for the relationship that we're developing, even more than what we did during winter break. So we'll be offering several weeks worth of enrichment and extended learning opportunities for students, like I said, junior high to through high school. We're excited to tell you more about that too.
All right. Thank you very much. Great job. Great news. All right. Mr. Mraz, our attendance report.
Good evening, President Pereira and Board of Trustees. You have an attendance report in front of you. Do you have any questions?
So I noticed that the only school that did not have declining attendance was Charleston for January as compared to December. Did we have a bunch of students in Mexico in January, or I mean, I mean,
You know
so
what?
that's what usually happens in January, but is that what happened here? Because I mean,
Potentially, so when you're comparing the December through January 16th date, they really only attended 1 week of school because 3 weeks they were off. So you're comparing 1 week of school versus 4 weeks of school.
that makes
So
sense.
it's, yeah.
Okay, that makes better sense. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Anybody else have questions? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, on to superintendent's report. Dr. Ritchie.
So good evening, board, good evening, public. We've had so many things go on in our district this past month. It's been hard to keep track of everything. And it's really exciting, just all the different activities and all the different things that our students are involved with. As several of you attended to the every 15 minutes activity over at Los Panos High School. And if you've ever been involved in that, it's a very sobering experience. It's a good reminder of the importance of not driving under the influence, and it's a great partnership that we had with law enforcement to be able to put that on. And kudos to Los Panos High School and all they did to make that event a success. You've also heard about just acknowledge that our Los Panos High School wrestling team that advanced, members of the team that advanced to the state finals. Angelina Borelli she won the section and is ranked the #1 wrestler in the state. We also want to acknowledge just the work of the different FFA programs at Pacheco and Los Panos High School that have either won or placed in the various competitions and are advancing to the state competition as well. And I would like to also give a special acknowledgement to our DLAC. Last week we had 30 parents participate in the California Association for Bilingual Education CABE conference. And they attended, and it wasn't just that they attended. When we first started having parents go about 4 years ago, we had 8 parents that showed up, and they were so appreciative of the opportunity to go and to participate in. There's parenting classes, there was classes on how to support their students, there was workshops, there's lots of different opportunities for them, and they were very appreciative of the fact that the district supported them in providing this opportunity. Since then, it's grown. We've had more parents go every year. We had, like I said, 30 parents that attended this year, and they weren't just attending, they were also participating. They were volunteers, they were guides, they manned the parent club, the parent booth, they were passing out, they were doing a registration desk. They got a lot of credit for a lot of compliments on the centerpieces they put together, which were remarkable. I can't do that, so it was very creative. And something else that I'd like to acknowledge is that our parents were such a force that we had the president of the National Association of Bilingual Education, the parent organization for CAVE. She requested a special meeting just to meet with our parents to get to know them and to find out more about just this remarkable group because of how energized they were and just the work that they were doing. We also had 40 students who came over for a one-day workshop. And this is a group of students, primarily students who were considered English learners or former English learners. And the work that they were able to do and participate in was remarkable. I just want to give kudos to Mrs. Moreno. She's actually a co-chair for CAVE because of the work that she's done, relationships she's built. She was a co-chair for that. And her assistant, Ms. Garcia, who really we know runs everything. That's how it's just like Nanette basically takes care of my life for me. Same thing, Mrs. Garcia. And so, and I had the opportunity to speak to the conference, just to acknowledge just the work that our parents do, to acknowledge the importance of multilingual education and just the really remarkable work that we have going on here in Los Banos. And that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you. All right, on to board member reports. All right, I'm not going to pick. Who likes to go first tonight?
I'll go first.
All right. Mr. Castro.
Get it out of the way. Good evening, everyone.
That's a first.
I wasn't able to share. Well, last month was Black History Month, of course, and I was not able to share a story. Oh, not a story, but just like a perspective of a friend of mine that I went to school with, and I wanted to share it here. And here it goes. I asked him, to let me know what he thought Black history meant to him. And this is what he wrote. It's short, but it means a lot. And then I'll reveal his name after. He said, Black History Month is a necessary act of reclaiming the narrative. It means shining a light on the stories that were often left out of mainstream history books, offering a more complete and accurate understanding of American history. It is about educating everyone on the true impact of Black individuals, shattering stereotypes, and acknowledging that Black history is American history. And I think there's a lot of people that might know who Rodney Percoats is. Mm-hmm. So Rodney Percoats, a friend of mine, I went to school with him here at Los Banos High, actually started in Miano. So anyways, I just wanted to share his perspective on what Black history means to him. And wise words from Mr. Percoats. Thank you very much, Mr. Percoats. Also last month, there was an event at the Ted Velasco Art Center, and I think everybody's familiar with the Ted Velasco Art Center. Okay, so there was an event to honor war veterans, but also to share stories. And the event, there were some familiar people there. It was hosted by Mr. Tim McNally. Most of you probably don't know who Tim McNally is, but I'm thinking a few people here know who he was a teacher at Los Banos High. So it was really nice to see him. He hosted the event, and then they had guest speakers, also whom I went to school with, Paul Loeffler. I don't know how many people know who Paul Loeffler is, but he was one of the guest speakers. Mike Hughes, he was also one of the guest speakers there, retired Los Banos police officer, police chief. That's right, you're right. Paul Loeffler, he was one of the people that was the main catalyst for the Central Valley Honor Flight. I don't know how many people are familiar with the Central Valley Honor Flight. What they do is they raise money to take veterans that have served from the Vietnam War on down to like World War II. and it's free to veterans. And anyways, Paul Loeffler is one of the catalysts for that. Also, one of the guest speakers was a man by the name of Paul Setner. I didn't recognize him, but he was also he graduated from Los Banos High. He has an exemplary career in the military. He's retired Air Force fighter pilot with 30 years of experience, and he has over 2,400 flying hours, 250 combat hours piloting a stealth bomber. If any of you have ever seen what a stealth bomber looks like, it's pretty impressive. And he said that he was present during the 9/11 attack. Anyways, another familiar face that I saw there, that she was serving condiments, or actually spirits, wine. They had cheese, they had wine. I got a couple of cups of wine from Isla Nelson. So she was there. Her dad, can't remember her dad's name, Dan. I think he served during the Vietnam War. Anyways, he was there, and he's part of the Ted Velasco Art Center. Milliken Museum, yes. Sorry, thank you. Anyways, so in saying that, the FFA, the American Legion, and the VFW, they've been raising money for about 8 or 9 years, and they've raised over $200,000 for the Central Valley Honor Flight. The very first dinner that they had, they raised $20,000. So it was a very nice evening, and some of the stories that Paul Loeffler, spoke about was also pretty impressive, and it was wartime tales of small town of Los Banos. Anyways, if you're a veteran and you've served at any point before the end of the Vietnam War, Central Valley Honor Flight will take you to Washington, D.C. for free. And if you want more information in regards to that, you can visit the local VFW post, or you can also go to their website, the Central Valley Honor website, which is cvhonorflight.com. I was lucky enough to go on Central Valley Honor Flight with my dad. My dad served in the Air Force back in 1951 to 1955. So he immigrated to the United States when he was 15 years old and went to San Jose High. He graduated from San Jose High, and then from there, back then they had the draft. So you basically had to go and serve your country. But the thing with my dad is that he was not a U.S. citizen. So the Navy had contacted him, and for him to serve in the Navy. When they saw that he was not a U.S. citizen, they suggested that he try the U.S. Air Force. So that's what he did. He loved ships, he loved water, because he came from the Azores, and it's 9 islands that's surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean. So you can imagine. My dad served in the Air Force, and as part of serving in the Air Force, they explained to him that if he served in the Air Force, that he would have the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen, and that's exactly what he did. So anyways, the Central Valley Honor Flight is near and dear to my heart, and it was the most memorable time of my life, because I served as my dad's like chaperone, basically. And like I said, it was just a memorable experience. There was a chartered flight, which made it, a lot easier to go through TSA and things like that. When you have a chartered flight, you kind of bypass all of that. So that was kind of fun. But anyways, Central Valley Honor Flight, if any of you know a veteran or have a family member that's a veteran that served Vietnam War on down to World War II, I would highly suggest that you contact the Central Valley Honor Flight and, give that experience to your veteran. It's a very memorable experience. This month, I was invited to read to the Grasslands Elementary School for the Read Across America for this month. And I read to the second grade class. I read to Miss Lopez, Miss Guzman, Miss No, and Miss Kasha. I took 2 books with me. I took Green Eggs and Ham, and I took The Cat in the Hat. And it was voted on which book was going to be read, and the most popular one was Green Eggs and Ham. So, and then I just took a little something to test the kids to see if they knew who Dr. Seuss is. And I showed them a couple of photos to see if they recognized or if they knew what Dr. Seuss looked like. So I'm just going to show you a couple of photos because I think it'll be kind of fun. This is the first photo that I showed to the class. I don't know if everybody can see it, but that's the first photo that I showed to the class, and I asked, is this Dr. Seuss? And the first class overwhelmingly said, that's not Dr. Seuss, right? Okay. So then I showed them the second photo, and this one was pretty popular. I asked them, is this Dr. Seuss? And a lot of the kids were like, yeah, that's Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss. And then some of you might know this photo, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to show them this photo. I asked, is this Dr. Seuss? I think some of you might know who this is. Maybe. From Friends, right? Who's that? Anybody recognize who that is? That's the Holiday Armadillo. I don't know. Anyways, so it's funny because one student said, oh, that's an armadillo, but I don't think he knew that it was the Holiday Armadillo. And anybody that's watched the show Friends, it's a funny show and a very funny episode. Anyways, I was excited to read to the kids. It was fun as always. I've read to classes before, and one thing that really stood out to me was the reception of the kids. And it was very warm reception from the kids. I even had a few kids come up to me and just give me a hug. And I'm this big, tall stranger coming into the classroom, and it was very touching to see that kind of emotion and it was very touching. Anyways, I really had fun reading to the kids, and I can't wait to do it again. And that is my report. Thank you.
Okay, February and March, very busy time. I attended the Los Banos High School Ag Sweetheart Dinner on February 17th, as well as the Pacheco High Baseball and Softball Crab Feed on the 21st. I enjoyed the High School Los Banos High Ag Appreciation Lunch by Stuart McCullough on the 26th of February. And on the sports side, I was impressed by the number of junior high students from all over the valley who competed in the wrestling tournament held for the first time ever at Pacheco High on the 28th of February. I also enjoyed photographing the 6th grade basketball camp at Westside Union on Saturday, the 7th of March. I I did attend the Merced County Boys and Girls Club open house on February 18th at the College Greens building here in Los Banos, and I met their CEO, Mary Mao, and she specifically thanked our school district for the partnership that our very own Zachary Cruz is putting together so that students who are on a waiting list for LEAP will be bused to College Greens and be part of their after school program. I didn't realize that there are only 50 students spots currently at College Greens, and they're using 25 of them. So we'll be able to fill the other 25 with and bus them there. I also found out from Zachary Cruz that our district has 500 students on a list right now who would like to take part in LEAP, but there's no openings, and he's working on trying to lower that number. I also know the city of Los Banos has been talking about establishing a larger permanent Boys and Girls Club in Los Banos. So if they could make that happen, we would alleviate the 500 students that are looking for some place to go after school. I attended the Arbor Day ceremony and tree planting on March 6th at Citrus Park. Congratulations to all the students who took part in the essay and art contest and helped plant the 41 trees at that park. I also want to congratulate Mary Garcia, the assistant principal of Los Banos Elementary, for coordinating all the ag exhibitors in presenting the first Ag Day at that school. There are a lot of moving parts to put this all together, and both indoors and outdoors. There were over 25 different aspects, exhibitors at the event, and taught many different aspects of ag. The best one was from Shane Parsons, and the students nicknamed him Worm Guy, and he was from Central Valley Ag Services, and the students enjoyed standing there and picking out the worms and touching the worms, and he explained the importance of worms, and I learned a lot, so that was good. And I look forward to tomorrow, the Ag Day at Henry Miller. And lastly, the Read Across America was a big hit this year, again, as it always is. And I spent a few days taking photos of celebrity readers at different schools. At Charleston, Principal Lou Reese challenges his students each year to read, and if they hit their goal of a specific number of books, he holds a student assembly and kisses something. So last year, he had his students read 800 books, and he kissed a goat. This year, the students were supposed to read that number, surpass it. They read 2,204 books, and he kissed a camel. So my question to Mr. Reese is, what is he going to kiss next year? But he definitely likes to motivate his students, and that's one way of doing it. So, and with that, that's my report. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I also was able to attend the FFA Sweetheart Banquet and the Pacheco Crab Feed and Silent Auction, both great events. I also did Read Across America at the week before Read Across America. I actually read at LFE. And then Read Across America Week, I did Grasslands, West Side, Volta, Henry Miller, and probably 10 or 12 classes total. And it is just absolutely the highlight of my March. I love reading to the kids. One of them asked me, "Hey, are you 16?" And I said, "Oh, you could flip those numbers and I'd still be older than that." So it took them a little bit because they were only in second grade, but one kid did catch on. So love kids, just love them. I was able to attend the WASC focus group for Pacheco, and thank you for the invitation for being able to be in that meeting. I also attended the choir performances for Los Banos Junior High, Los Banos High School, and Pacheco. Just beautiful, beautiful singing. The kids are just wonderful. And then also they had that same week the band performances for Los Banos Junior High and Pacheco. They have jazz band, they have concert band, and now symphonic band. It's like amazing. Great work that the band and choir are doing. But today was the one that was really very impactful for me because I attended the every 15 minutes where they have the actual crash. And if you haven't had the opportunity, I probably get emotional, sorry. If you haven't had the opportunity to see that, you really should. It's it it's just something that you can't explain how effective it is unless you're really there and involved in it. And being a mother, when I heard one of the kids yell out, screaming, "I want my mom, I want my mom," it was very, very, very emotional. So I want to give kudos to the great job that Los Banos High School, our first responders, and Mr. Leonard did on organizing that event. It's not just today, it's tomorrow again, but it's been weeks of probably months of planning, but they train the kids, it's just all orchestrated and done very, very well. So tomorrow will be the funeral for the kids that they pull out of class every 15 minutes, representing a child dying from a drunk driver. So, yeah, I think that that's one of the best events that we have. We have many, but that was very impactful today. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Caldera.
Good evening. Well, I spent most of the month in Vietnam, and I had the opportunity, when I go out of the country, to always visit the schools there. It always interests me to see what is schools like in another country. So I was at the Ho Chi Minh Temple, and there was a class on a field trip there. And I have to say, no matter where kids are, they're all the same. They were running around. I mean, the only difference is the kids wear uniforms, and the teachers are just dressed to the T in these long, beautiful gowns, which they say is what they wear. I got to, with my guide, talk to her a little bit about what she does. So it's always interesting to see how schools are run in other countries. So, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Moran.
Thank you to all the sites that invited us to read. Definitely was able to get away to West Side for 2 classrooms. The little ones are amazing. They do ask many questions. They were trying to figure out my age, but I was like, well, how old do you think? And I got an array, so it was actually kind of fun. All the way to then Henry Miller, I read at 5 classes, a mix of the younger ones and the older ones. Again, just if you're having a bad day, just go to one of the small little ones. They're just so full of love, like too many hugs, right? Like you can never have too many hugs, I should say. And then the older ones were asking questions. The 6th graders were asking questions already about college. So it was also so nice to be able to tell them about the college and share a little bit about what I do kind of on a day-to-day basis over at the college. So it was fun. It was amazing. And I look forward to it every year. It's probably the highlight of this month. And then today, this month is Women's History Month. So to my fellow board members, it's a pleasure to serve alongside you all, and definitely everybody from Los Banos Union High School District. So all our leaders, female leaders, our teachers, our classified professionals, our students. So as I see students in this room to aspire for bigger things, and so definitely celebrate one another. And so just wanted to make that shout out because as a fellow woman, I am so proud to sit on the board and serve among some really amazing females. Sorry, guys. It's just not your month. Not your month. Nope.
What? No Men's History Month? Wait a minute.
You guys had enough time.
All right. Ms. Smith.
Okay. Well, for me, I just want to say for me that Black History Month means to me, it's Black History to me every day of my life. I live it, good or bad. It's Black History Month or day to me every day of my life. So I really appreciate the celebration, but I do preach to my children and family that it's every day for us in our household. I attended some girls' softball events just to get out there and be outside with the kids and the girls. I like to support girls' sports, so I got to do a little bit of that this year. I have to say that retirement has me pretty busy, so I don't get to do a lot. I didn't get to do a lot this month. I have some traveling to do, but I did attend Pacheco High School's crab feed. I'm still recovering from that. That event have a lot of raffles and drawings. And Gene didn't even get my picture, but I was one of the finalists for the 50-50 raffle. You did get me? Okay, all right. Did you see who won? That was my daughter who won. It was between me and her. You know, yeah, they offered a split, and I said, no way, no way. And she won, which I was really happy that she did, because this senior year for her daughter is costing her a lot of money, so she could use it. So it was a good thing. Her grandma would have to pay anyway, so I appreciate her winning. And I just want to repeat what Sean said. There's been so many acknowledgments and positive things that's been happening throughout our district with teachers and staff. It's a lot that you guys are doing, and I really appreciate what the students are doing, what the staff is doing. It just shows that Los Banos is doing great things. A lot of great things are happening in our district, and it's noted. It's noted throughout the town. It's noted throughout California of all the wonderful things that are happening here in Los Banos. So I just want to say congratulations to you students and staff for being who you are and putting forth so much energy into yourselves and into this district. And I have to say our teachers are amazing. They're just wonderful. I saw one teacher at the event. I said, hey, what happens at this event stays here? And she said, absolutely. So, Louis, you had a couple cups of wine at that place. Or was it a Stanley Cup? Sounded like it was a Stanley Cup. I'm kind of hearing Stanley on that one. Okay, maybe it was a smaller cup. But anyway, Louis, have you guys ever heard him talk so much? He's so quiet, right? I'm like, wow. That was beautiful. That was really nice. I really, really enjoyed that. But anyway, just to the staff and students, thank you and congratulations to all your hard work. Thank you. You want to talk afterwards? Yeah, Stanley Cup. Yeah, look.
All right, thank you. I'm not going to repeat what everybody just said, because I read at schools. I was at Arbor Day and the Sweetheart Banquet, so I've done all that. I just want to kind of go in a different direction for a second. And not to put a damper on everything that was said, but I just want to talk about something that has been out there for a while. And on February 25th, there was a letter to the editor in the West Side Express. And letters to the editor are put on the opinion page because it's someone's opinion. It's not necessarily factual. In all cases, there's some facts in there. There's some sort of facts in there, and there's some things that really aren't true. One of the things in that letter was that Ms. Gattuso and I are cousins. We're not related. Never have been. Probably won't be. We don't even have relatives that are married to each other or even dating each other. So it was someone's opinion, although people will take that as fact. I think it's really important that people know what they're reading on an opinion page. What they're reading on social media is someone's opinion, and it's not always totally factual or totally truthful. And there's been quite a few items on social media about the board, about me, about Dr. Ritchie the last couple of months. And I never respond. I never respond to social media. I don't rewrite rebuttals to the letter of the editor. And as much as I want to, I really don't, because then it's going to be a back and forth. But it's always disheartening to see things that are printed and then the comments afterwards where people actually think it's true, and they're not true. So I guess, don't rely on information on social media. And I know we have a lot of seniors here tonight, and you guys are all on social media, and you've all read things that aren't true. So I know you guys are all, the people that are sitting here have lived through all that. A lot of things happen. As a school board, we make a lot of decisions, and those decisions have to be made in public. And so we sit up here and we get a board packet and we go through it. This board packet's over, 450 pages, that we go through and read every single page. And I will tell you that these colleagues of mine we all read the board packet, and we know what's in there. We ask questions, and we get clarifying information before we get here and make a decision. Plus, we have a discussion if that's necessary here at the meeting to make those decisions. So, we can't talk about it. We can't talk to each other outside of the board meeting because we're bound by a state law called the Brown Act, and the Brown Act is the let's say it's a transparency law. So the Brown Act dictates to any public group, school board, city council, board of supervisors, elected public officials are bound by the Brown Act. So, we can't talk to each other and say, hey, I'm voting this way, or how are you going to vote on this? We can't have those kind of discussions until we get to an open public meeting and we can have that discussion and there can be public input before we make our decision. So, that's, when you're accused of making decisions without really looking at the facts, I will tell you this group doesn't do it. Well, I mean, we really go through everything that we need to do to make sure that we make a decision that is well thought out and in the best interest of our students, employees. There is a few things that we have to discuss in closed session. It's in the Brown Act, and just a few of those are any pending litigation or existing litigation or even litigation that is going to be threatened upon us. We have to make we have to have those discussions in closed session, because if someone's suing you, you don't want to talk about it in public because then they know what your strategy is to work on that litigation. So litigation is one of them. Personnel matters. That's appointments and discipline of employees, evaluations, dismissals. Those all are happening in closed session, and those are there to protect the privacy of the employees. So those kind of things are required to happen in closed session. Labor negotiations are required to happen in closed session. So we do discuss when labor negotiations are happening, what's the district's position on that. Real estate negotiations, if we're getting ready to purchase property, we have to have those discussions in closed session, so that, if we direct the people that are doing the negotiations for us of where we want to go with that. And so those are held there. Student discipline, when we have expulsions, those always happen in closed session, again, to protect the privacy of the students. And, but, public security, if there's a threat against the schools or whatever, we want to make sure that we have those discussions in closed session, because if the threat or something's happening out there, we don't want to talk in an open session about what our strategy is to make sure that those things don't happen. So those are the type of things that we talk about in closed session. Now, if we make a decision in closed session, then we have to announce that decision in open session. So even if we make a decision in closed session, it can't actually happen unless we make it public when we talk about our decisions in closed session. Now, we won't give names out, we won't give strategies out, we won't give a lot of information out, but we say there was a decision made on this. So a lot of times I hear people say, well, you hide behind closed session. We don't hide behind closed session. We're mandated to keep closed session information confidential. It's really hard, and all these people over here tell you, something called pillow talk is like, you get to bed and you talk to your wife or your husband or your spouse or best friend or whatever, and you have that pillow talk and you talk about your day and you talk about things happening. The hardest thing about being in a closed session is that you can't go home and talk about those things. So it's like, how was your day? Well, man, this really bugs me, but I can't talk to you about it. So, we hold closed session information very dearly. Now, we've had some leaks. I will tell you that in the past, we've had some board members who have shared information and it gets back to us. And then there's always problems that we have to deal with. But those things, we're not hiding behind closed session. We're required to keep those closed session information quiet. So when we make decisions on certain things that we have discussed in closed session. A lot of times we have information that we can't talk about, and that's how we made those decisions. And it's really difficult when we can't tell everybody how we made those decisions or why we made those decisions because we made those in closed session. So we're not hiding behind it, but we're required to follow the Brown Act. So then we're accused of all kinds of things in public comment, whether it's on letters to the other or social media, and and it's not just us, it's also city council, it's the board of supervisors. Everybody has those closed sessions and they make decisions based on what's best for their constituents, whether they're students or employees or citizens of the city or the county. So I guess the moral of the story is don't believe everything you read, because some of it might be true and some of it is someone's opinion. And we don't want to make our decisions on opinions. I'm off my soapbox, so thank you. So let's get on with the rest of the meeting. On to new business, and it's Student Health Services presentation, Dr. Whitaker. And Pacheco High School, thank you for being here tonight. That's right. Good evening.
I'm Priscilla Whitaker. I'm the Director of Student Health Services for the district. And I'm going to do a little overview of the department. So these are the goals that match with the LCAP goals and the strategic directives for the district. And so our health services team, so we have 4 registered nurses who are also credentialed school nurses. 8 LVNs, 8 health assistants. We hired an LVN for the LEAP program. 15 of those speak Spanish, so it's very important to speak Spanish to speak to our parents. And we have 14 school sites that have a staffed health office. So there's a picture of our team. We're missing just a couple of people. And then here's the coverage for the sites. So on the top will be either the LVN or the health assistant for the site, and then below will be the credentialed school nurse that covers that site. Our daily responsibilities, of course, is first aid. We have a lot of injuries and illnesses. We manage chronic illnesses, medication, speaking with parents a lot, and collaborate with parents, staff, and other school nurses. And we have to, of course, have compliance with Ed Code. So we follow this. This is put out by the California Department of Public Health, and it's a guide of when to keep your children home from school. So we use it as well. So when we send children home, we know that schools are not sterile environments. People do get sick, right? So one of the big changes that in years past, we've always gone by the 24 hours fever-free without the use of medication. We no longer do that. We're all parents, right? We know your child fever breaks in the middle of the night and they're bouncing off the walls in the morning, send them to school. They don't have to have that anymore. So that's nice when we get our students back into class. So these are the health office visits up to last Friday for this school year. So 124 days, we've had 46,659 visits to the health offices. Yes, it's quite a bit. As you can see, the larger green areas on the right are GI symptoms. So that's upset stomachs, and then on the left is injury care, and down below also injury care. But I want to highlight the diabetes care. So that's 1,180 health office visits for diabetes care. And then we also manage medications for our students. In California, students aren't allowed to have medications on campus without a doctor's order and a release from their parents. At the elementary level, we house all of the medications. At the secondary level, with additional sign off by physicians and parents, we allow our students to carry either EpiPens or inhalers, but the rest of the medications have to be kept in the health office. So throughout the district, we have 428 different medications in the health office. Our health conditions, so these are reported in areas by parents. So we have 2,731 students with health conditions. That's about a quarter of all of our students. 690 of them have more than one health condition. So I asked you to pay attention to the 1,180. That's for the type 1 diabetics. So we have 27 type 1 diabetics in the district. Children with type 1 diabetes, it's a lot of care. And parents are, of course, always very worried about their children. And these are a couple of notes that I've received from parents with children with diabetes. I want to make sure I typically won't read slides to people, but I really want to, Yolanda Batana Marin, who's at Grasslands, the parent there said that she's taken the time to write an email because she wants to brag about your staff, meaning to me. I wish that you would see how amazing she is. I can't tell you how much I appreciate her, and I'm so thankful for the love and support from your staff. So Yolanda and Alfonso, who is the credentialed school nurse that covers this site, this student got an insulin pump. And so when they get an insulin pump, it's a big deal. It's a big life-changing deal, right? And so at Valley Children's, they do a training. They have the family come. And so Yolanda and Alfonso went to the training. And so the parent went on to say having them at the appointment meant a lot to us. It makes us feel you're ensuring his safety, which is our goal, our children to be safe and healthy in school, right? And then LaSwan, another parent of a type 1 diabetic, said, I thought she deserved a shout out from me. Her communication has been top notch, and she's been very comforting. I can relax a bit knowing she, meaning her daughter, is in good hands. So that makes me feel really good. I'm usually the complaint department, so to get the kudos, that's really good. We also work very hard on immunization compliance. So the goal is over 95%. And, I meant to highlight that other one. So Lorena Velasco and Mercy Springs are the only ones that aren't at that 95%. We have to report all of our TK and kindergarten students because that's when students are first starting school. And then all of our 7th grade students because that's when they need their Tdap booster. And then about our credentialed school nurses. So in order to be a credentialed school nurse in California, you have to be a registered nurse, a public health nurse, have at least a bachelor's degree, and also the credential is school nurse services credential. So here are our 4 school nurses. I'm also a school nurse. I didn't put myself on there. But these are the sites that our school nurses cover. And their responsibilities are IEP assessments and attending meetings, developing care plans, training staff, and our state mandated hearing and vision screenings, and we also do all the TB screenings for the district. So here's a couple of pictures of our state mandated hearing and vision screenings. So the ladies on the left are doing the hearing, and then on the right is the vision, and it has to be a little dark because their eyes have to dilate. So their pupils need to dilate, so it has to be a little dark. So that's why they're over there. And these are our results of our screening so far. We only have Los Banos Junior High left to do, but so our referral rate is 16.8. And you can see there that we do the referrals, and then also if the student screens a more severe refractive error, then we also include the ANAC application. I'm going to show you what this is. So our spot screeners, we can print out these summaries. That's my eyes and the actual result of my vision screening. And so what we've done is we've printed those out and sent them to the parents along with the referral. And if the refractive error is severe, then we also sent an application for the ANAC application. And ANAC's a charitable organization that's dedicated to giving glasses for free. So they set up the appointment with a local optometrist. The parents take them. The organization pays for it, pays for the exam, and pays for their glasses. So that's a really nice organization to have at our disposal. So we also do collaboration participation. We also had staff that read Across America, which was fun. They participate in career days. We have 2 students in the Los Banos High School ROP that are spending 3 days a week in our health offices at the junior highs. So that's really fun for them. Our health staff goes off-site on field trips with students with extreme medical needs, 6th grade camp, summer school, and then, of course, we collaborate a lot with the community schools. We had the Optical Academy at the beginning of this school year. We do a TDAP clinic for our 6th graders that are going into 7th grade that need their booster. We'll do that in May. And then early next school year, we're going to partner with Camarena Health to do a vision partnership, much like the Optical Academy, but with a local provider. We have open lines of communication. We communicate a lot with nutrition services because we let them know what students have allergies. And then they also communicate back with that our carb counts for our meals for our diabetics. With the athletic directors, we started communicating with them. We're having a Google spreadsheet that we share with them. So we do a health problem list and give it to the athletic directors so they can let their coaches know what students, athletes they have that have medical issues. And the same for transportation so that they know which students on the buses have medical issues. These are our works in progress. Home and hospital. I'm working with Colgate. They have a Bright Smiles, Bright Futures program where they'll come with a bus and do just visual screenings on our students' teeth. And they get, they do a little education. And then they get a toothbrush and some toothpaste. And that will align well with our kindergarten oral health assessment reporting that we're required to do each year. It's hard to get those from parents because we're all parents, right? You don't always take a form with you when you go to the dentist, so it's hard to get those. So that would be nice if we can pair those up together. And then, of course, we have an emergency response. Supplies and equipment. So we have AEDs, EpiPens, Narcan, and stop the bleed tourniquets at all the sites. Most sites have more than one. Coming soon, like this summer, we'll be able to have stock albuterol inhalers. And then the state is also working on getting the Neffy, which is the nasal spray of epinephrine. So instead of the EpiPen, we will have the Neffys. And so that would be nice because be a little bit more likely to give a student a Neffy than an EpiPen, right? So hopefully that comes soon. And at the conclusion, thank you for giving me the opportunity to work in my community. Any questions?
I do.
Okay.
On the immunization compliance slide,
Yeah, I'll go back.
there's a lot of numbers below 100%. And why? I mean, how are these students allowed to come to school without getting all their immunizations?
So they can be on a makeup schedule. So say they were behind in their immunization, so they got an immunization in March, and their next dose isn't due until May, so they can be conditionally admitted. So we do track that throughout the year. It's not just when we report. So it's very rare to be at 100%. Actually, it's kind of hard. Because you're going to have some students that are behind. And then also with students that are on an IEP, we can't exclude them from school for missing immunizations because it would be denying them their services. So some parents choose to not immunize their children for that reason, but they still should have it. It's not an exception. It's not an exception. We just can't exclude them from school.
Cool, thank you.
That's a good question.
Ms. Gattuso.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh.
This report was wonderful. It's
You're welcome.
just really informative, and I'm glad the public also got to hear how many students we really do serve with medical conditions. And
It's pretty amazing, huh? We're
Yes,
very busy.
Yeah, it is. It's, I mean,
The 46,000
you're
is
talking,
pretty busy.
Almost 25% of our students.
Mhm.
That's a large amount of students that your people take care of. So
Yes.
thank you so much for doing
Oh, you're
such a
welcome.
great job.
Yes, my staff is great.
Ms. Valdeo.
And I just want to thank your staff because I know as a teacher, that nurse's office, that little office is busy 24/7.
It
They
is
are
super busy.
little guardian angels and they're so
Mhm.
good with the kids and we're so lucky to have them. They're a necessary part of keeping kids safe and feeling secure. And I know they're in their offices sometimes way too much.
Yeah. A lot of them would swear all 46,000 were in their office, but that's not true.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
Yeah, great information. This is.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is an eye-opener about 46,000.
Yes, we're very busy.
Yeah, very busy.
It's not just ice packs and Band-Aids.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. Appreciate
All right,
it. It's
thank
great,
you.
Great information. All right, next up is a presentation of the bond measure survey. Dr. Lee.
So, good evening, Board. Representative from the research and consulting firm True North Research, TNR, along with the district's municipal advisor, Feldman, Roll-Up, and Associates, will present the results of the survey for a potential November 2026 bond measure. Okay, so we have our consultant here online, and they will begin the presentation. So Dr. McLarney and Mr. Chung, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. McLarney, if you can hear me, you can begin your presentation. Thanks very much.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Let me go ahead and share screen here. Can you just confirm that you have it on your end? It's a big blue slide.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me here this evening. I'm Dr. Tim McLarney. I'm president of True North Research. We are a firm that for nearly 25 years has specialized in working with school districts and other types of public agencies and using surveys to help them develop a statistically reliable understanding of the communities and the customers that they serve. To date, my business partner and I, as a two-person team, have designed and conducted over 1,500 research studies for public agencies. And probably about 2/3 of the work that we're doing these days is what we call revenue measure feasibility studies, like the kind of study that we're talking about here tonight, where the goal is to understand if it's feasible to move forward with a bond measure, and if it is feasible, to understand from the research how you might go about structuring that measure in a way that is consistent with the type of measure that your community is interested in supporting. Happy to say that we've helped our clients have a lot of success over the years. Of the measures that we've recommended go to ballot based on the research, 93% have been successful. And today, our research has underpinned about $42 billion in voter-approved measures around the state. I mention that mainly because as I go through tonight's presentation, I may make reference to how the results here compared to what we typically see when we're doing this type of work in other districts. And I just want you to have a sense from the experience base from which I'd be speaking. I also do welcome questions from the board along the way or at the end, whichever is your preference, although I will note that being on Zoom, I can't actually see you as the board, and so you'd have to verbally cue me if you want to stop and have a question. And obviously, I will be available for questions after the presentation as well. Okay, so before we get into the results, helpful to take a moment to review the purpose of the study as well as the methodology. In terms of the purpose of the study, what we're doing with the bond feasibility study is addressing the 3 bullets that you see here on the slide. The first is to answer that basic question of, is it feasible? And what I mean by that is if you as a board were to choose to move forward with a measure this November, does it have a reasonable chance of success? The answer to that question isn't always yes. Sometimes we do this work, and no matter how you stare at the data, there's really not a clear path to get you from where you are today to where you need to be viable on election day. And if that's the case, I'd be the first person to tell you that. I think the last thing typically a board would want, or the administration would want, or frankly the community wants, is to invest in a process like this if you don't have a reasonable chance of success to begin with. When we do find feasibility, that second bullet kicks in gear and is to use the research to understand how you might go about structuring a measure in a way that it's consistent with the type of measure that your community is interested in supporting. There's a lot of components to a bond package. There's the project list, like if you were successful with a bond, how would you propose to spend the money? There's the price tag for this measure, meaning the tax rate that underlies it that property owners would be expected to support. There's accountability provisions that can be built into these measures to help give voters the assurances that, you know, if they vote yes on this, their tax dollars will be well spent. And so there's a lot of sort of questions that ultimately you as a board would have to answer before you go to place a measure on the ballot that the survey research can help guide. And then finally, it's an opportunity for us to understand the role that information plays in shaping voters' opinions about your proposal, and that in turn can help shape future communications. In terms of the methodology or how we went about conducting this study, we use the same methodology here that we always use when we're looking at the feasibility of a bond measure. And the first question we ask ourselves when we're structuring a study like this is, what election do we think this measure is going to be on? Different elections have different turnouts, and as you expand or you shrink turnout, you tend to get a somewhat different profile to the group of voters who are actually participating in that election and deciding the fate of your measure. So in this case, we were looking ahead at that upcoming November 2026 election, the gubernatorial election that's coming up later this year. And what we do is we identify all voters within the district that are what we call likely November voters, based on their voting history, like when they've registered to vote, what elections they've taken advantage of since that point in terms of participating, as well as some other demographics. We expect that these are the individuals who are actually going to cast ballots in this upcoming November election. We then use a process called stratified and clustered random sampling. I can get into the details of that if you like, but suffice to say that what it does is it guarantees us not only at the sampling stage, but also at the when we're done with data collection, we have a sample of individuals in our survey that is representative of that likely November universe, and that the profile of our sample matches the profile of that November universe on all the dimensions that we know tend to drive how voters behave when it comes to bond measures. So the balance in our sample by age and gender and partisanship and household party type and where they live within the district, the balance on our sample matches the balance of the likely November universe, and that is really one of the keys to making sure that this research is reliable. Once we had pulled our sample, we reached out using 3 different recruiting methods: email, text, and telephone. Folks had the opportunity to take it either by telephone or online, whichever was their preference, as well as in English or in Spanish. We completed 400 interviews. Oh, excuse me. I don't know why that jumped ahead. I'll get right back to it. We completed 400 interviews as part of this study, and with a random sample of 400 interviews, you have an overall margin of error due to sampling of plus or minus 4.8% at the 95% confidence level. What that means is we can be 95% confident that the results in our survey of 400 are within 4.8% of what we would have found had we spoken with all of your likely November voters. So this next slide shows, sometimes I get that question, why 400, right? Why? And maybe it seems like it's not a lot of interviews relative to the size of the likely November population. Well, that is the beauty of inferential statistics. It is not how many people we talk to, as it is how we choose the people that we talk to, that allows us to estimate the opinions of the entire likely November universe with a relatively small sample size. And so what this graphic shows is the relationship between sample size, which is along here at the bottom, and the margin of error due to sampling. And you can see it's a curve, right? It's not a line. Then what that means is the more sample you add, what you start to see is smaller and smaller reductions in the margin or benefits in terms of the margin of error due to sampling, right? That starts to flatten out. So 400 is often found for surveys like this because it sits at that point where it allows you to meet the academic standard for statistical reliability, which is a less than 5% margin of error at the 95% confidence level. And as you can see here, as you were to say double your sample size, so you're doubling the cost of data collection for your study, you're actually only reducing your margin of error here by less than 2 points, right? And so that's why you'll see a 400 chosen often when it comes for these types of studies, because it's the most sort of cost-effective and efficient way of meeting the academic standard for statistical reliability. I also mentioned that profile of the sample that we used and how well it aligns with the profile of the likely November universe. And this table just gives you a glimpse at that. So this middle column here, this is the distribution of likely November voters within your district by age, party affiliation, household party type, whether they're a homeowner or not, as well as how they distribute across the various trustee areas within your district. And to the right is the profile of our sample. And as you can see here, we're basically within 1 or 2 points on every one of these dimensions. So the profile of our sample matches the profile of the universe. Okay, so on to the results. This first slide shows the results of what we call the importance of issues question, where for each of the issues you see here on the slide, we simply ask voters to tell us how important is this to them. Is it extremely important, very important, somewhat important, or not at all important? Great warm-up question, just kind of gets folks into the groove of taking the survey, thinking about their local community, but it's also an opportunity for us to understand how education as a topic stacks up against some of these other issues that also compete for tax dollars, things like maintaining local streets and roads. And in particular, how does the topic of maintaining the quality of education in local public schools stack up against the issue of preventing local tax increases? Rough rule of thumb, surprisingly predictive when you're thinking about a bond measure. The higher up in this list and the more importance that voters place on maintaining the quality of education in local schools relative to this issue of preventing local tax increases, the better positioned you are to move forward with some type of bond. In this case, what you find is that the number one issue in the community was, in fact, maintaining the quality of education in local public schools. 94% said that's extremely or very important. Followed closely by creating jobs and improving the local economy, and then maintaining local streets and roads. As you get down here to 3 up from the bottom, you see preventing local tax increases. That checked in at about 71%. So you got about a 23-point gap between these two items. Interestingly enough, that gap of 23 points is right on the money with what we were seeing in most school districts in the 2024 election cycle. The average school district had a gap here between these two items of sometimes 22, 23, 24, but it was really similar. So what that says is, you're pretty typical of what we find for most districts that are considering these measures. One other thing I will point out, though, is you see this repairing and renovating aging school facilities item. It checks in above preventing local tax increases, so that's a plus, but it's about 19 points lower than maintaining the quality of education in local public schools. I point it out not because it's unusual to see that item further down the list. In fact, we see that all the time, but it's kind of a healthy reminder that although bonds are about capital improvements, right? They're about your facilities. They're about the things you're going to construct and repair and improve. At the end of the day, when it comes to schools, voters don't care so much about facilities as they care about what happens inside those facilities. And so when you move forward with a bond measure, there's this constant exercise of wanting to connect the dots for voters between what it is you're building or fixing in terms of your facilities, but why it ultimately matters to your core mission of educating students. So after that warm-up question, we get right down to business with what we call the initial ballot test. And the idea here is before you get any deeper into this interview and we start talking about possible tax rates that could be associated with your bond, presenting a list of different potential uses of funds, as well as testing arguments pro and con, we want to present to respondents a mock-up of what we think that 75-word ballot statement could look like and get their reaction. The initial ballot test is a really good gauge of where your voters are at on the natural with respect to this proposal, because they have not seen anything about this bond or heard anything beyond what you see here on the slide. So that's the language you're testing. Note that we're testing in total a $98 million bond. It would have a tax rate of $45 per 100,000 assessed valuation, raise about $6 million annually to fund the things that you see up here in the bullets. So that is the language we tested. And here are the results. So at that initial ballot test, we had 63% of respondents say that they would support this proposal. 26% were opposed, with the rest unsure. So in the state of California, for a Prop 39 bond to be successful, you need 55% support. So we're sitting about 8 points north of the 55% threshold that's required for passage at the initial ballot test. So naturally, support for these measures can depend on the price tag, right? The higher the tax rate, all other things being equal, the lower the level of support you can expect. One of the goals of the survey was to make it really clear to voters that bonds mean taxes, just in case they somehow missed that out of that 75-word ballot statement, but also to understand basically where's the appropriate place to price this measure, right? As you alter the price tag in terms of the tax rate, how does that ultimately impact voters' opinions about this proposal? So we do this in a couple ways. On this slide, we take the conventional approach of you start at the top rate here that was built into that 75-word ballot statement, the $45 per 100,000 of assessed tax rate. And we say, if you knew that the property taxes on your home would increase by that amount, would you vote yes or no? If they're anything but a definitely yes at $45 per 100,000 assessed, we test 34 and we test 28. What you find here on this slide is that when you focus voters' attention on the price tag, right, you kind of put the blinders on and focus their attention on it, it does create some tax rate sensitivity. So at that high dollar amount of $45 per 100,000 assessed, we had 48% support. As you step it down to 34 and 28, you're seeing increases in support such that at $28 per 100,000 assessed, we had 57% of voters say they would support this measure. Now, we know that this question in particular is a conservative read on voter support for a bond measure for a couple of reasons. One is we're putting the blinders on folks, right? When you think about what a bond is, it's a package deal. It's all the things you're going to do and improve. And within that 75-word bond statement, the tax rate is one piece of that. Anytime you pluck the tax or the price tag of something off, set it aside and focus voters' attention on it, it tends to have a bit of a chilling effect on support for a proposal. The other reason we know that this is a bit of a conservative read on voter support for a bond measure is because when you talk about the tax implications of a bond in terms of a rate per 100,000 of assessed valuation, not everybody knows what you're talking about, right? You have to know what assessed valuation means. You have to have some estimate of the AV for your property. You have to be able to do math pretty quickly in the space of the survey to translate this $45 per 100,000 assessed valuation tax rate into a meaningful number. Not everybody's good at that, understandably. And so what we know is there's some voters that will hedge when we ask this question. They're going to say no or not sure rather than yes, because they know you're talking price tag. They just don't know what it adds up to. And we know that in part because we come about it a little differently on the next slide. So here we say, all right, this is the left column. Let me put it another way. If you knew that this measure would cost the typical homeowner about $138 per year, would you vote yes or no? The $138 per year is the $45 per 100,000 assessed valuation tax rate multiplied times the median AV for a residential property in your district. So it's what that middle typical property owner would pay. And as you can see here, that when you just do the math for folks, you take the mystery out of the price tag, you say it's going to be $138 per year for the typical homeowner, you get a more positive response to this, right? So at that $45 per 100,000 assessed valuation tax rate, we had 48% support. When you go ahead and just do the math and tell them it's $138 per year, support jumps to 55%. Same exercise on the right, only here we're annualizing the $28 per 100,000 assessed valuation tax rate, for which we found 57% support on the prior slide. When you just do the math and tell them it's $86 a year, support jumps to 60%. All of these last two slides are really helpful when it comes to sort of making what is sometimes the most difficult decision for a board when they're moving forward with a bond is where do you price it, right? Obviously, the higher the tax rate, the larger the bond, the more good you can do for your facilities. But obviously, the higher the price tag, you also want to make sure you're choosing a price tag that you feel comfortable that even when the conversation sort of circles about the money, we're still feeling confident that you can get at least 55% of voters to support that proposal. So after the tax rate discussion, we get into the projects and improvements section of the poll. Here, we're trying to do two things. One is we're going to now start to educate this respondent more about what your bond measure can accomplish. Up until this point, they'd only seen the initial ballot test, and we had 75 words to describe your bond. You can only say so much in 75 words what this thing's going to do. Here, by unpacking it into all these discrete uses, you're giving folks a much better idea about what the bond would do. The other thing it allows us to do is to understand of all the ways you can spend the money, how do voters feel about those ways, and which of these are ultimately their priorities. So the thing, I get to do this for a lot of districts around the state. The thing that jumps off the page to me on your results here is just how positively voters feel about all the potential usage for your bond. We had, even at the very bottom there, you've got better than 3/4 of respondents say that they would favor spending some of bond proceeds on that item. But when you get to the top, what you see up in this zone is pretty typical of what we tend to see rising to the top of the list for voters when they're considering bond measures. It's a combination of taking care of your older facilities, right, and bringing them up to current code. So that's things like removing hazardous materials, right, replacing and repairing roofs, plumbing, gas lines, sewer lines, HVAC, and electrical systems where needed, right? But it's those things, but it's also CTE, STEM, and instructional technology, right? So that combination of things, taking care of your older facilities, CTE, STEM, instructional technology, tends to be a pretty potent combination and attractive proposal for voters. So after the projects and improvements section, we get into the argument section of the survey. Here, what we're trying to do is simulate the type of discussion and debate that is going to occur in the community should you as a board choose to move forward with a measure, right? If you vote to place a measure on the November ballot, there's going to be an election cycle, going to be a lot of discussion and debate about this bond in the community. You're going to have some folks who will step up and advocate on behalf of this proposal to the community, talk about why it's needed and why they should vote yes. You might also get some critics who step up and, say this is a terrible idea and we shouldn't be doing it, and here's why. For this survey to be a reliable gauge of the feasibility of your bond measure, we needed to simulate that discussion and debate in the space of the poll, so we know not only where your voters are at on the natural, which was that initial ballot test, but what happens after they hear positives and what happens after they hear negatives. So shown here are the positive arguments that we tested. You can see that a lot of these arguments get traction with your voters, right? They find them to be either very convincing or somewhat convincing reasons to support the measure. What is interesting, though, is when you get to the top of the list here, most of these arguments, we saw on the last slide that towards the top of the list are kind of arguments or projects that are involving taking care of your older facilities, right, and bringing them up to current building standards and academic standards. A lot of the top arguments sort of take that same theme, right? They're talking about the age of your facilities, some of the problems that you have with your facilities, number of roof leaks, number of portable classrooms you have that are over 20 years old. So you're actually able to quantify some of the facility needs that you have with your older sites. And that's, as you can see here, those are the kind of arguments that went to the top of the list. Now, at this point in the survey, voters have heard more about your proposal than they did at the initial ballot test. We had a chance to talk in more detail about the tax rates. We saw that had a bit of a chilling effect on voter support for your proposal. But we also had a chance to come back, talk in more detail about how the funds could be spent. We've been able to convey positive arguments here. We've yet to get to the negatives. So we circle to what we call the interim ballot test. We present that same 75-word ballot statement and say, now that you've heard a bit more, where do you stand? As you can see here, support is pretty stable. We're about 1 point lower than where we started. We started at 63%. We're now at 62%. But we're still about 7 points north of the 55% threshold that's required for passage. And then we get to the negatives. The idea behind the negatives is I want to pressure test voter support for your proposal. I want to know how resilient is your yes vote. Should you get critics? Should they be vocal? Should they say the things that you see here on this slide? So what do? I pepper them with a series of negative arguments, the kind of negative arguments that are designed to give them reasons to vote no. And as you can see here, some of these negative arguments get some traction. The number one at the very top is the number one negative in pretty much all of the bond measures that I have been surveying this cycle, which is this idea that now is not a good time, right? People are struggling. We've had inflation. We've got high interest rates. We've got rising costs of living, right? People are struggling to stay afloat. Now is not the time to raise taxes. You always hear that now is not the right time argument in every election. The reasons may vary, but that's your number one right now. So, and there is kind of a sensitivity to cost of living and affordability right now. We can expect that that's going to be a theme that is going to be pretty prominent this election cycle. And you do see that the negatives that lean into that side of the discussion, they get some traction. The real question, though, is what happens afterwards, and that is here. So after the negatives, we cooled down about 7 points from where we were at the interim ballot test, but we still land at 55%. So you're right on the bubble of what it takes to be successful for a Prop 39 bond. So before I kind of talk about what I think all this means, I want to share with you a little historical comparison slide. So we had the privilege of working with the district and doing the polling for your Measure X ballot bond back in 2018. And just as in this presentation, we had the initial ballot test, the interim ballot test, the final ballot test. We did the same approach back in 2018, and you can see that back then we had an initial ballot test of 73%. We had an interim ballot test of 76%. The final ballot test after testing negatives was 66. And then on election day, right, Measure X checked in at 71%. So right kind of in the middle of that range of what we were polling at earlier in that year. One thing I will say about Measure X is it was what's called a bond extension, which is a little bit different than what you have now. When you have a bond extension, you can pass these measures without actually increasing the tax rate. You're just extending an existing tax rate further out into the future, right? So you can pass a bond without actually having it raise property taxes. Those tend to be more attractive. You tend to see anywhere from 6 to 10 to sometimes 12% more support for these bond extensions, which explains why in the 2018 polling, we're just higher, right, in terms of support levels at that point than we are today. The main difference there being this was a bond extension. What we're talking about this time in 2026 is a new bond, right? So you can see here that's what we had that time, and then this time we're a bit lower, ranging anywhere from 63% to 55%. Okay, so what does all this mean? I've just got a couple wrap-up slides here. I'm going to return first to that overarching question I mentioned at the outset as being the main motivator for why you do this research, which is that question of, is it feasible? If you as a board were to choose to place a measure on the November ballot, does it have a reasonable chance of success? This is what I call a qualified yes. It's a yes, but, right? I see that there's a path to a successful measure, but it's going to require some adjustments, which I'll talk about here in a second, and it will require robust engagement and communications with the community to be successful. So why the yes part? That's all the things you see there in the bullets under the positive signs, right? We saw that maintaining the quality of education in the local public schools was the most important issue to your voters. We saw solid natural support for this measure at the initial ballot test. Right out of the gates with just the 75-word ballot statement, 63% of voters supported it. All the projects and improvements that you're thinking about funding with the bond were popular. You've got positive arguments that resonate with voters. And importantly, at every point in the survey where we circled back to a respondent, we presented that same 75-word ballot statement and said, all right, now that you've heard a bit more, where do you stand? Every one of those ballot statements or tests was at or above the 55% threshold that's required for passage of a Prop 39 bond. And that was even after we tested negative arguments. So when you see those kind of pieces in place, that's the pattern that we like to see for measures to have feasibility. That said, we also do see some challenges in the poll, as well as if you step back from the poll and just think about what a November election is probably going to look like, that we want to be cognizant of. One was tax rate sensitivity, right? The moment that conversation sort of zeroed in on the tax rate, we did see some slippage in support. Some of that was alleviated once they kind of understood what the total cost would be, right? So talking about it in terms of a rate, we saw lower support. Once you converted that rate into a number everyone can understand, it was more positive. But the bottom line is we did see some tax rate sensitivity, and so you're going to want to make sure you make this measure affordable. Number two, we saw that opposition arguments resonated, right? When we were testing these negative arguments, we saw that support for your proposal dropped about 7 points afterwards. So we need to be thinking about that. And then the last two things down there are really sort of stepping back from the poll and just thinking about what the next 6 months or so is going to look like, right? We can pretty much guarantee we're heading into another hyper-partisan election, right? And we've seen that in the last few cycles. To some degree, that's baked into your poll numbers here. And then there's also these lists of what I would call unknowns, although I put the part of that in parentheses because in a lot of ways, we already know about these things, right? We know about tariffs, we know about inflation, we know about people's concerns about cost of living and where the economy is going. And, you know, right now, a lot of what we know is already baked into your results, right? I mean, this is a snapshot in time today. And so these things aren't really unknown. Well, the part is what's going to happen in the next 6 months, right? We don't know where these things are going. It could be that things get more positive, which would actually help boost some of these numbers on the poll. But it's also possible that, we could see some developments in the economy that create some headwinds for your measure. The reason I bring these things up is not because I think they're insurmountable obstacles, but anytime you're putting a measure on the ballot, you want to put a measure up there that can withstand some adversity, right? So should you get some headwinds, should you get some crosswinds, that you still have a measure that is successful. I'm generally not a fan of recommending clients go to ballot where they're throwing the Hail Mary, right? They're hoping that everything goes their way. And usually when you throw those Hail Mary passes, the ball winds up on the ground, not in your receiver's hands in the end zone, right? And so better to sort of plan for some adversity and then structure your measure accordingly. So with that in mind, a couple thoughts. Number one, you've heard me say keep it affordable. I think you want to look hard at that tax rate. I don't think that the $45 per 100,000 assessed valuation tax rate is where you're going to want to set this bond. You're probably going to want to drop that price tag a little bit to make it feel more affordable. In terms of project priorities, although everything we tested was popular, what you see here in this bullet, it really should be the centerpieces of your measure, right? Bringing your older facilities up to code and current standards, removing hazardous materials, and then CTE, STEM, instructional technology. And then finally, if you're going to move forward, you got to not only make smart decisions about the measure you put in front of voters, you also need to put the work in. And by that, I mean communications. And there's really two paths for this. There's the path that the district as a public agency can communicate, right? You're not allowed to advocate up or down for a proposal, but you are and should have a conversation with your community to help raise awareness in the community about what your facility needs are, how these facility improvements that you're considering, how those connect to the educational opportunities and your core mission of educating students. And ultimately, through that conversation, start to build consensus on what a bond proposal could look like. And then if you were to choose to move forward with a measure, there would also need to be an independent campaign. These are volunteer-led, private dollars that can go out and advocate for this measure during the election cycle itself. And so with that, I end my presentation. I welcome questions from the board if there are any. And would it be best if I stop sharing the screen at this moment?
Sure. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you.
Okay.
Are there any questions, comments? Ms. Gattuso, you're okay.
So I know you've talked, I think we've talked about this before. Better this in 2026 versus 2028?
So what you will see, you'll have different thinking on this. I'll tell you what my thinking on it is. So oftentimes you will find that these presidential general elections are elections. So you're thinking 2028, right? That districts and public agencies will target those elections for their measures. The main reason being is, generally speaking, the higher the turnout in a community, right, the more, on average, tax-friendly voter is participating, right? So as you expand turnout, you tend to bring in younger voters, those who may not be homeowners, right? They tend to be a little more left-leaning. They're just a little more tax-friendly than their counterparts. And so the more of those folks that you bring into an election, generally speaking, and all of the things being equal, the better chances your measure has. So that's why you will see a lot of agencies target that high turnout presidential election, because that's when you're going to see the most of those individuals. That said, it also comes with a challenge, which is you're on a very crowded ballot, right? And you're, instead of being one of maybe a few measures to consider, there's usually a list longer than my arm that people have to consider in these presidential general elections, right? So you're sort of, it's a little bit of a trade-off. When you look at the November 2016 election, I actually think that this is probably going to be a better than average election for ballot measures in the state. When I think back to what was the most recent really positive election for ballot measures around the state, that was November of 18. right? So a gubernatorial election, like the one that we have coming up, there's a lot of similarities between kind of what the power structure was in November of 18 and where the energy was. And you're starting to see that now. You're here for shaping up for November 26th. So I actually think that, I wouldn't be scared of going into 2026. And frankly, we don't know what 2028 is going to look like, right? There's probably, more time for a recession to hit between now and then, or something else to unfold. So the crystal ball is really, really fuzzy for 28. Definitely would be as hyper partisan as you can get because it's a presidential election. So I kind of, if you've got the numbers to go in 26, I think it makes sense.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? This gives us a lot to think about. Thank you. It was very informational. Really appreciate it.
All right. My pleasure.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Thanks again for that presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
All right. On to item C, our second interim report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to make a short presentation on the second interim report, and then I'll ask you to approve it as presented. Okay, the 2025-26 interim report. First, I have to give cover recognition to Malia Washington, 7th grader at Los Banos Junior High. This is Mrs. Gattuso's granddaughter. This is the favorite part of the book, so I appreciate all the submissions. Okay. So a summary of where we ended up. We ended up with a 2.3 COLA, not much change since first interim. We had a remain the same at 19.10. We had a decrease in PERS contributions from 27.05 to 26.81. We did have show a decline in enrollment of 128 students, and our ADA projections remain at 10,261. I will have better ADA numbers once second P2 is done in April, and then I'll bring that to you in unaudited actuals. Or once I have those numbers, I can have Dr. Ritchie send those out to you. Our unduplicated pupil count, we had an increase of 1.55%. We fully expensed the Educator Effectiveness Grant and the Student Support and Professional Development Grant, and we did receive an additional $859,000 in the Learning Loss Recovery Block Grant. Currently, we are at a 2.3 COLA. We are projected 2.41 next year. We are hoping at the May revise to see an increase. We are hearing about 2.81 right now, still down from the 3.6 that was originally projected. The same for 27-28, we're at 3.06, but that's what we have now. That could possibly change as time goes by. Those are just projections. So where did we end up with the components of the LCFF calculator? We ended up with total revenue from the LCF calculator of $163.5 million. And you could see where it's broken down: the home to school transportation, the add-on for TK, the concentration supplemental is the LCAP that you see, and the base grant is what we get per ADA. So our revenue for unrestricted and restricted, as you could see, most of our revenue, 70%, is the unrestricted, which comes from the LCFF calculator. We have local revenue of 2%, and we have state revenue of 20% and federal revenue of 5%. So our expenditures, our total expenditures was $243.2 million in total expenditures. And you could see where it's broken down with certificated salaries, classified salaries, benefits, books, services, and capital outlay, you will see most of our budget does go to salary and benefits. So where did we end up with this second interim? We had a beginning balance of 23.5 million. We had total revenue of 169.4 with expenditures of 181.0. This is only unrestricted. This is not restricted, but this is where you'll see the 3% come in. So our ending fund balance in unrestricted ended up at 11.9. And what did that consist of? We have the 29,479 in our revolving fund account. We had payroll reserves of 2.2 million. We had MA fund carryover with 631. We had lottery funds of 1.6 and our required 3% reserves of 7.4. And Mr. Pereira had a question about that. When the 3% hits total expenditures, that also includes the $3 million contribution of Fund 14 in that 3%. We do pay that on top of that. So what does multi-year projections look at currently? So we're looking at ending the year for this year's budget with a 5% overall district reserve. And you could see in years out that reserve level drops. You will also notice the payroll reserves drops from 2.2 to 450 to 744. Keep in mind, this is based on budget. If we close the books and we have a good fund balance, those numbers all change as we start seeing what we have in carryover. This does not reflect any carryover. And this is just another slide showing you the drop in the reserves. We would love to get that reserve level higher. That would be my goal. I'd love to see it at 6, 7, but we'll have to see how that goes. So what's the final synopsis? We are able to certify as positive and meet all our financial obligations in the 25-26 school year with the support of one-time state funds, ADA, and the COLA increase. Any questions? No questions?
I just have a couple of comments.
Yes.
And I'm sure everybody clued in. On the revenue unrestricted, restricted slide, our total district revenue was almost $7 million. 224.7, but our expenditures were 243.2. That's kind of scary. We're spending,
We have a lot more revenue in restricted,
right,
but this is both of them combined.
exactly, but
So-
we're looking at the unrestricted, because I brought that with me. When we did our adopted budget back in May, we had a projected ending balance of 8.9 million. When we did our first interim in December, that went up to 14.1 million. And from there, we're back down to 11.9.
You have to remember, first interim is where you see the carryover. We don't have that in budget development because we don't know those numbers yet. And then what you're seeing throughout the year is we're spending down that carryover. So our expenses are a lot more because we're spending those
Still,
down.
$11 million is not,
Yeah,
when you have a $250 million budget, $11 million is not,
it's not a lot.
it's not a cushion. And then the other thing is that, looking at projected for
The
future
multi-year?
years, we're at 5%. And if in the next couple of years, if we go down to 4%, if we ever hit 3%, we're in big trouble because that's made up also of restricted funds.
Correct.
So-
We pay that
Exactly.
overall. If I was
we're
not
gonna be in
able to
trouble.
meet the 3%, the first thing I would pull would be the 3 million contribution of Fund 14.
Yeah, but the problem is, we had it in our budget, adopted budget, $5 million to Fund 14 to help balance the books. In our first interim, we lowered that to 3 million.
But we're still getting the 2 million that LCAP's giving us.
Right, but,
So-
but then when you look at the second interim, that 3 million now that was sitting there to be spent, we've spent 3.4 million of it, which is a lot more than 3 million.
Well, the 450 is for the Evolve system payment.
But we still
So
spent.
it's the three. I know that you're looking at 3.4, but we have 3 payments on that come out of that account. So the last payment on that, I believe, was 405 next year. That is the final payment on that.
But we're still spending more money than we had
Yes.
budgeted. I just, I see this and it's really concerning. I mean, when you get down to 4% is scary.
Yes. If I can't make the 3%, that's when hard discussions will need to be had.
And this isn't, it's looking at a, $250 million budget, and these numbers are scary. The expenditures are really high compared to our income. So, I mean, even though we have some carryover or whatever, to me, it looks like deficit spending, which is scary.
Yes, it is.
But I've said that every time we've had a budget presentation, so it's not anything new. It's just concerning.
I think Marlene had a question. Do you have a question?
Saying, this has been right on the wall to me.
Any other comments? Mr. Lieb?
So we set aside $5 million for facilities. Our facilities are falling apart, and now it's $3 million, right? So
No, it's still 5.
it's still 5.
There's 3 million from general fund and 2 million from the LCAP.
Right,
Still 5.
right. But it was 5 originally without the LCAP. It
Correct.
was 5 plus the 2.
No, it was just the 5.
Just
We
the
didn't
5.
have the 2. When Dr. Ritchie rewrote the LCAP, he included that in there.
Right, okay.
Because this was our year to rewrite the 3-year LCAP.
Okay,
Still scary.
yeah, I don't like that.
Any other comments? All right. With that, we need to have a motion to approve and certify the district will be able to meet its financial obligations. We have to make a motion, yes. All right. Motion by Valadeo, seconded by Gattuso. Motion by Valadeo, seconded by Gattuso, to approve and certify the district will be able to meet its financial obligations. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's carried unanimously. All right, on to item D, initial bargaining proposal, Los Banos Unified School District and Los Banos Teachers Association. Who's doing that? Okay. Excuse me, wrong button. Dr. Ritchie.
It is recommended the board accept the initial bargaining proposal submitted by the Los Banos Unified School District for the 2026-27 bargaining cycle. Board acceptance of the proposal will follow with a public hearing.
All right, with that, we will open the public hearing. Is there anybody here that wishes to address the board on this item? We opened that at 9:09. Seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing at 9:09. Comments from the board? Questions? If not, I need a motion to approve the initial bargaining proposal from Los Banos Unified School District to the Los Banos Teachers Association. Got a motion by Member Rand, seconded by Member Gattuso to approve the initial bargaining proposal. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it's carried. All right, on to item E, initial bargaining proposal, LBTA's bargaining proposal to the Los Banos Unified School District. Dr. Ritchie.
It is recommended the board accept the initial bargaining proposal submitted by the Los Banos Teachers Association. The board acceptance of the proposal will follow a public hearing.
With that, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody here that wishes to address this item? Open that up at 9:10. All right, seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing at 9:10. Any comments, questions from the board? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve the initial bargaining proposal submitted by LBTA to the Los Banos Unified School District. We got a motion by member Lieb, seconded by member Castro to approve the initial bargaining proposal submitted by LBTA to the district. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it is carried unanimously. All right, on to item F, course title revision. Beginning Digital Media Art 1, first reading. Dr. Sutton.
Yeah, good evening, Board. We have a series of courses that we've taken a look at that we need to rename to facilitate an easier, streamlined process for balloting at both of the two high schools. And so it's recommended that the Board declare its intent to adopt a new revised course title, Beginning Digital Media Art 1 for the district.
Thank you for the background information in the BRM, because that really explained, you know, the reasoning behind that, and
Sure.
it makes total sense. So appreciate that. Any other comments or questions? Motion? A motion by member Smith, seconded by member Gattuso, to declare our intent to adopt course title revision, Beginning Digital Media Art 1, first reading. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it is carried unanimously. On to item G, course title revision, Beginning Visual Art, which is Art 1, first reading.
And for the same reason, it is recommended that the Board declare its intent to adopt the new revised course title, Beginning Visual Art, Art 1, for the district.
Comments or questions? Again, thank you for the commentary. Very helpful. Motion, please. We got a motion by member Lieb, seconded by member Moran, to declare our intent to adopt course title revision, Beginning Visual Art, Art 1, first reading. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Item H, course title revision, Advanced Drawing and Painting, Art 2, first reading. Dr. Sutton.
And again, for the same reason, it is recommended that the Board declare its intent to adopt the new revised course title, Advanced Drawing and Painting, Art 2, for the district.
All right, comments, questions? Motion? We got a motion by member Valadeo, seconded by member Moran, to declare our intent to adopt course title revision, Advanced Drawing and Painting, Art 2, first reading. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. On to item I, course title revision, Digital Photography, Art 2, first reading.
For the same reason, it is recommended that the Board declare its intent to adopt the new revised course title, Digital Photography, Art 2, for the district.
Comments, questions? Motion? Got a motion by member Lieb, seconded by member Gattuso, to declare our intent to adopt course title revision, Digital Photography, Art 2, first reading. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it is carried. On to item J. Guess what? Course title revision, Sculpture and Design, Art 2, first reading.
For the same
Dr.
reason,
Sutton.
it is recommended that the Board declare its intent to adopt the new revised course title, Sculpture and Design, Art 2, for the district.
Comments or questions? Motion. Got a motion by member Gattuso, seconded by member Smith, to declare our intent to adopt course title revision, Sculpture and Design, Art 2, first reading. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it is carried. On item K, new course, Introduction to Agri-Science, first reading. Dr. Sutton.
Yes, in looking at the courses again, we looked at some of the recommendations, and so we're recommending that the Board declare its intent to adopt a new course, Introduction to Agri-Science, for the district.
Comments, questions? So, Mike, I have a question.
Sure.
So is this going to be a course offered using existing staff, or are we adding staff?
This is existing staff. It's restructuring what they're currently doing at the junior high so that it aligns with the ag pathways at Pacheco High School, but also could be at Creekside to align with theirs if they chose to go that route.
So we're using existing staff. That's
Yes.
That's a good
Same
thing.
staff, nothing's changing.
After we just saw the budget.
Yes.
Yes, it's kind of scary.
No new
we start
staff.
adding staff. All right. Any other comments or questions? Motion? All All right, who, I heard two. Moran, okay. We got a motion by, I had three over here. Who was it?
Marlene,
Mar-
give it to Marlene.
Marlene, okay. All right, declare, we have a motion by member Smith, seconded by member Gattuso to declare, what, no?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
I bet everybody else did too.
We had, okay,
That's good.
seconded by a lot of people, to declare the intent to adopt new course Introduction to Agri-Science, first reading. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is carried. Item L, new course Introduction to Career Tech Ed, first reading. Dr. Sutton.
Yes, and again, for the same reason, and in alignment with what Mrs. Gattuso asked previously when we brought CTE courses, the same reasoning to kind of call it an introduction so that it would lead into a pathway at Pacheco High School. It is recommended that the board declare its intent to adopt a new course, Introduction to Career Technical Education, for the district.
All right, Ms. Gattuso?
Just curious for the name, because when you talk about an introduction to career tech ed, not all industry sectors are represented in the course outline. So I'm just kind of curious why that name, or why not all industry sectors when you're calling it an introduction to CTE?
Because, the intent for this from Mrs. Brazil was just to bring in an overall concept of what CTE is for the kids. And so they'll be doing some exploration there and figuring out what's going on, but they're not necessarily going to explore all of the industries. They just want to give them an idea what CTE is, so that when they get to Pacheco, they're already getting a leg up.
Okay. No, I mean, I think it's a great idea. It's just, it was very STEM kind of industry sectors versus, there's lots of other industry sectors, right?
There are, but the background of the folks on that campus right now are STEM.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's the current staff, there's no addition.
And actually, there was a question I was going to ask on the first one, and I didn't. And it pertains to all three of these new courses. The next one's coming up also. And that is, obviously, we're going to approve it next month, because it'll come back for second reading, and then balloting will start, right, with the kids. They're going to ballot for, these are all elective courses, right?
They're elective and they're already balloting.
They're already, we haven't approved it yet.
Yeah.
They're balloting already?
Yeah, we started balloting back in November.
I was going to say they have to.
Okay.
But just to throw out there about the balloting process, that when students ballot, it's just that they're looking for, declaring essentially their intent that this is a course they'd be interested in. Should the board choose not to approve these courses, then that would not, the students may have balloted for it, but it wouldn't be a course that would be put in a section. So it's just the process starts to ballot back in the fall. And so in order to allow students to have the opportunity, if they choose to do this, we can get an idea of whether this is a course they're actually interested in. There's lots of courses that students can ballot for, but they don't necessarily get included in the master schedule because not enough students are interested, and it doesn't meet the threshold of being able to offer a section.
Which was my next question. Is there a threshold? Is there a minimum number of students that has to ballot for these courses before they're offered?
Yes, for example, for a section of an AP course, if it's a brand new one, we try to cap it start it off between 15 and 18 kids to build momentum for it. If it's a class, it's a gen ed class, it's typically at the same level we would teach all the other classes. So 32 at the junior high, 35 at the high school is the max. So that would be what we're looking at. And then there's a lot of promotion that goes along with it to get that interest up.
So these courses will require 32 kids to sign up for it?
Yeah, the average.
Five.
Well, the cap at the junior high is 32, so it could be 25 to 32, somewhere in that range. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? Motion, please?
So moved.
Second? All right, we have a motion by member Gattuso, seconded by member Valzeo to declare our intent to adopt new course Introduction to Career Technical Education, first reading. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it's carried unanimously. On to item M, new course Public Speaking, first reading. Dr. Sutton.
And again, it is recommended that the board declare its intent to adopt the new course Public Speaking for the district.
Comments, questions? Motion.
I will definitely want to approve this one, yes. Public speaking is very important.
All right, we have a motion by member, did you make a motion?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion by member Lee, seconded by, getting punchy here. Motion by member Lee, seconded by member Moran to declare our intent to adopt the new course, public speaking, first reading. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sutton. Next up, change order request number 1 for the RME restroom building. Ms. Monday is making her way up here.
Making my way. Good evening again. It is recommended that the board approve change order number 1 with TBS Contractors for the construction of our Miano Elementary School for new restroom project.
Comments, questions?
Can you elaborate on that for the public so they know what we're talking about here?
About what the change order is?
Please.
So this change order is for $9,274.80, which is coming out of the previously board-approved contingency funds. And this work is for putting 4 inches of aggregate base under the concrete sidewalks, rat slab, and mow strips, so we don't have cracking or anything like that. That came out of the soils reports. We got some fire department direction that we needed to take out. We did not have to put the Knox boxes there that they had put in the plans. So we got a credit of $1,340.76. And then the third item on the change order is install a 100 amp breaker and an existing electrical panel for $451 for a total of $9,274.80.
Any other comments or questions? Motion, please. Got a motion by member Castro, seconded by member Gattuso to approve the change order request number 1 for the RME restroom building. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. On to item O, change order request number 2 for the Volta Elementary modernization.
It is recommended that the board approve change order number 2 with Kaya Services LLC for the construction of Volta Elementary School modernization project.
All right, Mr. Lee. Oh, you have a question. You didn't push your button, Mr. Lee.
Tried to push the button. One, I can't reach the button, but that's my personal problem. On the contract, I just want clarification. On the contract, it's got description of the change for the non-compensatory contract extension. Anyway, it says extend contract completing date from November 21 of 26 to February 27 of 26. So
I'm sorry, where
it's
you?
on page 82. Sorry.
On page 82.
So they're talking about extending the contract completion date, but
There is no dollar amount to that. So
I'm not talking about dollars.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the contract dates in general.
Yes.
So if you're extending and the starting of that extension, it says you're going from November 21 of 2026 to February 27.
That should say, sorry, that should say 2025.
Okay, that was.
Okay.
So I'm, that kind of stuff on contracts kind of drives me a little nuts.
Okay.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Yes,
That's not-
I will
it's
get
just one
them
of
to
those
correct
things,
that
yeah.
before I have Dr. Lee sign it.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right. I think I actually caught that in agenda review. I guess it didn't get fixed. I think. I can't
We
remember.
talked about the number,
It's okay.
the
Can
days,
I
the
catch-
99
can I
days.
catch
Yes,
one?
we did talk
You
about
just
that,
let me
but
catch
But I
one.
want to catch them all before it comes to you. All right. Besides
we
that,
didn't
any
talk
other
about
comments or
that date
questions?
thing.
All right. Need a motion, please.
So moved.
Got a motion by member Gattuso, seconded by member Moran to approve change order request number 2 for the Volta Elementary modernization. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is carried unanimously. On item P, change order number 4 for the Early Education Center project. This Monday.
It is recommended that the board approve change order number 4 with TBS Contractors Incorporated for the construction of the Early Education Center project.
All right. Comments, questions? Motion? We got a motion by Member Valadeo, seconded by, I think it was over here first, Member Castro.
Mr. Castro.
Mr. Castro. So we have Valadeo Castro, and that is to approve change order number 4 for the Early Education Center. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to item Q, which is new alternative vehicle purchase. Dr. Lee.
Please recommend the board approve the new alternative fuel vehicle, electric golf carts, purchase funding agreement between Los Banos Unified School District and San Joaquin Valley Unified Air Pollution Control District. As a disclosure, those agreements are dated February 5th, 2026. So pretty much they're just agreements saying, hey, we'll give you the funding for that. There's no obligations. We're not providing a service or product to you. You can get those golf carts if you like. And once you get them, you provide a documentation. We'll give you the money. Again, those agreements count as they being approved by the San Joaquin Air Board. So it's a month old. But again, there's no service or product being obligated. We don't have to purchase those golf carts. If we do, then we collect the documentation, submit for funding.
I like the fact that we get money back for buying these things. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. Say,
Wish with everything we can do.
right, 100% funded by grants.
100%.
Yeah.
That's even better. Any other comments or questions?
I have a comment.
Hey, Mr. Lieb.
Where are they going? Who's using them?
So we have one earmarked for Los Banos Junior High School. There's 2 more where I get maybe go to secondary or the elementary. We're still deciding that, where their needs are.
Any other? All right, I need a motion, please. Got a motion by Member Smith, seconded by Member Moran to approve the new alternative vehicle purchase. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is carried unanimously. On to item R, Employee and Volunteer Appreciation Resolutions number 06-26 to 08-26. Dr. Ritchie.
It is recommended the board adopt resolution numbers 0626, 0726, and 0826.
And every year I like to read these out because I think it's important that these resolutions are read to recognize and to recognize these people who are on these 3 resolutions. The first resolution, 06-26, is volunteer recognition. They're called Shining a Light on the People and Causes that Inspire Us to Serve. Whereas April 19th through 25th, 2026 is a celebration of National Volunteer Week, and whereas volunteers are eager to help out in every way and take the time to make the world a better place, whereas volunteerism is recognized as a central partner to education where young people have the advantage of seeing adults show respect, responsibility, fairness, trustworthiness, caring, and citizenship. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Los Banos Unified School District Board of Trustees publicly thanks and honors the many dedicated individuals who give so freely of their time, energy, and abilities to the students of this school district, not only during this special week, but throughout the year. On to resolution 06-26, excuse me, 07-26. I really got to learn how to read here. Day of the Teacher. Teachers today, touch tomorrow. Whereas May 13th, 2026 is designated as Day of the Teacher in celebration of the teaching profession, and whereas the board recognizes that a strong public education system for all youth is essential to our democratic system, and whereas the board acknowledges the true heroes of society, our teachers, for the lasting contributions they make to our most valuable resource, our children. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Los Banos Unified School District Board of Trustees publicly thanks and honors the many dedicated individuals who give so freely of their time, energy, and abilities to the students of this school district, not only on this special day, but throughout the year, and urges citizens of Los Banos to pay tribute to them as well. And last is Resolution 08-26, Classified School Employees Week. Together, everyone achieves more. Whereas May 17th through 2026 is designated as Classified School Employees Week in celebration of support staff, and whereas the board recognizes that a strong, successful public education system requires a team effort, and the classified employees are valued members of the district team, and whereas the board acknowledges the true heroes of society are classified employees who take care of the district's support functions so teachers can concentrate on teaching and students can focus on learning. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Los Banos Unified School District Board of Trustees publicly thanks and honors the many dedicated individuals who give so freely of their time, energy, and abilities not only during this special week, but throughout the year, and urge the citizens of Los Banos to pay tribute to them as well. And I know I speak for everybody up here and at all of our staff. We want to thank and appreciate the volunteers, the teachers, and the classified employees who are being recognized in this resolution. With that, let's have a motion that will cover all three of these resolutions, please. We got a motion by Member Moran, seconded by Member Gattuso. This is a roll call. Nanette, please.
Mr. Castro? Yes. Mrs. Gattuso? Yes. Mr. Lieb?
Yes.
Dr. Moran?
Yes.
Ms. Smith? Yes. Ms. Valadeo? Yes. Mr. Pereira?
Yes. Thank you, Nanette, and thank you again to everybody who we recognize there. On to item S, board policy bylaw changes and updates on our first readings. Dr. Ritchie.
It is recommended the board declare its intent to adopt the following board policy and administrative regulation updates. BP 0450 Comprehensive Safety Plan, AR 0450 Comprehensive Safety Plan, BP 1340 Access to District Records, AR 1340 Access to District Records, BP 1445 Response to Immigration Enforcement, AR 1445 Response to Immigration Enforcement, BP 4119.21 Professional Standards, Exhibit 1 4119.21 Professional Standards, BP 4119.24 Maintaining Appropriate Adult-Student Interactions, BP 4156.3 Employee Property Reimbursement, BP 4219.21 Professional Standards, BP 4219.24 Maintaining Appropriate Adult-Student Interactions, BP 4256.3 Employee Property Reimbursement, BP 4319.21 Professional Standards, Exhibit 1 4319.21 Professional Standards, BP 4319.24 Maintaining Appropriate Adult-Student Interactions, BP 4356.3 Employee Property Reimbursement, BP 5125 Student Records, AR 5125 Student Records, BP 5125.1 Release of Directory Information, AR 5125.1 Release of Directory Information, Exhibit 1 5125.1 Release of Directory Information, BP 5141.21 Administering Medication and Monitoring Health Conditions, AR 5141.21 Administering Medication and Monitoring Health Conditions, BP 5145.13 Response to Immigration Enforcement, AR 5145.13 Response to Immigration Enforcement.
So I noticed that there's two entries for response to immigration enforcement. The last two that you just read, the BP and the AR, are completely lined out. So obviously,
Yes.
are they being moved to a different section, or?
They are being moved to different sections. So you see, if you look at the two of the other board policies and admin regs, BP 1445 and AR 1445 are also response to immigration enforcement. This is because when you have a board policy that's already adopted, and if it is being recommended to be moved to a different section to better align with the purpose of that one, the 5,000 sections in board policies for students, the 1,000s in board policy is more for, I guess, administrative actions is probably a better way to put it. The recommendation from Gamut is that we open those board policies in the 1,000 because it better reflects the purpose of those board policies, and therefore, because it's being moved to that section, you don't have the redundancy of having in the 5,000. So the 5,000s are being eliminated, whereas basically the board policy with appropriate updates are being added to the 1,000 section.
Good, thank you, appreciate that. Ms. Gattuso?
So on the comprehensive safety plan, it states that it shall be reviewed and updated by March 1st on, all the schools' comprehensive safety plans and brought
By
to the-
site councils.
But the board still has to approve.
The
them.
board still has to approve it,
So
but the
when-
requirement for the board approval is not till, Ms. Morales, it's October, correct? Thank you. So they,
Okay, because I'm used to them actually from MCOE in March. That's why it was like,
Yeah,
I
the
thought
law-
we had to do it in March.
yeah, the law states that it has to be approved by the site council at the
Right,
site
exactly,
by
by
March. And so that's the
March, yes.
deadline for that. And so we've been working with the sites. They're all having their safety plans approved.
And
We'll be
get
bringing them later
copies?
spring, but yeah,
I
by
mean,
state law.
prior, so we can kind of review them a little? Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And then one other question, which I don't even know about this, but when we're talking about professional standards on page 2, well, it's in a couple of the policies,
Yes.
actually. It talks about inappropriate attire, which do we have a definition of any kind of inappropriate attire? I don't know if we even have I'm just curious, honestly.
I'll have to talk to, I'm not going to speak out of turn here. I haven't read it recently. I know that there is something exists, but that's a
couldn't-
conversation with Tammy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew there was, I don't even think there's anything in the professional teaching standards about what that looks like.
No,
but
it's just in
it's-
professional
right?
teaching standards,
Yeah.
it's just a phrase.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm just kind of curious what that actually is, because if we're putting it in a policy and we're expecting people to not dress inappropriately, how do we measure that? So, just my thoughts.
Thank you.
There's always one thing that, about dress that I think we need to live by, and that is spandex is a privilege, not a right.
Some of your comments tonight are just way, could stay home.
And we all know.
Then don't wear spandex.
Okay, good. All right. I had to do something. It's 9:38 at night here. Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions or stories or inappropriate comments or whatever? All right, with that, I need a motion to declare our intent to adopt all the listed policies. We got a motion by Member Rand, seconded by Member Lieb, to declare our intent to adopt all the listed policies. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's carried unanimously. On to the consent calendar. Are there any polls?
I hate to do this, but I'm going to.
Okay. Go ahead.
The
Wait,
contract,
wait, hang on, I'm gonna turn you on here. Turn your mic on.
the contract with NWEA. I don't, on page, because you knew mine was different, so I didn't put, and then the contract with Parsec, that was on page 289, but I don't know if I had the right board packet at the time, but those two contracts.
What was the first one?
Contract with NWEA?
NWEA is G8. Oh, just saying that.
Oh, G8. All
Oh, I
right.
was gonna say,
I was looking above that. Okay, any other polls?
and Parsec, yeah, is that?
Yeah, we have G8 and G5. Any other polls?
G5 and G8.
I guess I could have looked at the. It'd been
I
easier.
want to pull item G7. Any other polls? All right, so I need a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of items G5, G7, and G8. We got a motion by Member Liebs. Sorry, did you have one? Oh. Yeah, a motion by Member Liebs, seconded by Member Castro to approve the consent calendar with the exception of items G5, 7, and 8. All those, it's a roll call vote. Nanette, please.
Mr. Castro? Mrs. Gattuso?
Yes.
Mr. Lieb?
Yes.
Dr. Moran?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Valadeo?
Yes,
Mr. Pereira?
Yes. All right, Ms. Valadeo, item 5.
I just know they're all associated. I wish I could have asked you earlier. I'm sorry. I've just been on jet lag mode. I know they're all tied to in the PLCs. Sorry, the PLCs.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so explain them to me better
Sure.
than.
So what Parsec is a data dashboard that we use to be able to analyze, disaggregate basically a lot of different things. So some of the things that we use the dashboard for that's not affiliated with PLCs would be like, we look at our suspension rate. So when we come and we present information to the board about, like, say, where we're currently at suspensions, like I'll just use that as an example because we were talking about this week. If you look at our data over time, it shows that we're at 7.5% suspension rate for the last several years. To last year's dropped to 5.8. What Parsec does is it takes the information from Aries and it puts it into a very visual and easy way to understand, and it'll be able to help us see things in real time. And so right now we can track our number of students with 1 or more days of suspension by school, by by group, and also by student. We can also be able to drill down into what is our actual rate right now. So right now, we see that in our district, we actually have dropped from last year. About 5.8% of our students received 1 or more days of suspension. Right now, we're sitting at about 2.4, which is a massive decline. It helps us to monitor and see that is the work that we're doing with regards to counselors, restorative practices, PBIS, is that working? Is that actually making a change? So we're using this to help to monitor the effects of the work that we're doing at the school sites. And also, this is something that principals use with their teachers. It can be used in PLCs. That's a great place for looking at data, but it's not necessarily the only use of it. So that's just an example. But we look at CAS data, we look at attendance data there, we look at, like I said, discipline data, we look at our the map with the other item that's been pulled, the map growth data that we use for essentially benchmarking and progress monitoring. Exactly. It is just it's a data dashboard. It throws everything in, and then it helps to visualize and gives us reports, gives us projections. It helps us to really be able to see kind of where our kids are at.
And we've used it before.
This is a renewal. We've had
For
this
3 years. Okay, so this is a renewal.
Exactly. We've had this for 3 years, and so we're actually getting a bit of a discount because the county has actually gone ahead and purchased the base version for all the districts. We've been just doing it on our own, and so we actually have a bit of a discounting here compared to previous years. And so we went for the 3 years because it would give us a further discount on it, and it's something we've already been using and it's been working.
So this information then from the other one, that's the map testing? No, the NWEA.
Yeah, the NWEA, that's
so
the map growth assessments.
This information goes into that.
It can, yes. Yeah,
But really, teachers use this for their PLCs, right?
Well, it depends. It depends if the PLC is talking about the map growth data, then yes. If they're they're looking at behavior and they want to say like, hey, how are our kids doing at our grade level in terms of suspension, they can be looking at that. They can also be using the Parsec to look at attendance, and they can also do it for school-wide presentations. And there's data's data. It's just how you look at it. It's just the way the Parsec dashboard is really about how do we visualize, how do we use it. If you'd like more information, I can be happy to bring Parsec in to kind of share about how we use it.
I kind of thought that's what you were talking about, but when it said this is for PLC, I thought, well, is this? So I went, that was my question, and then I thought, so this is also the NWA is also a renewal for 3 years.
That's correct.
Okay, and we've already had, I know we already had it before.
100 years. I just have a question too. Is Parsec the one that counselors use sometimes too?
Yeah, counselors use as well. Counselors use that. They use ripple effects. There's a couple different.
Yeah, I mean, when they came one time and did a presentation, they talked about it, but they didn't explain what that actually was. So that's helpful. I'm glad that I asked. So thank you.
Okay, that's all.
Any other comments or questions? All right, I need a motion. We got to do these separately. So item G5, I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by member Valadeo, seconded by member Gattuso to approve the agreement with Parsec Education Data Management and Analytics Platform. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it is carried. All right, on to item G8, agreement with NWEA Map Test Education.
Just point of order, I think the next one would be G7 since that was pulled as well.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it yet.
We haven't talked about it yet.
Okay.
we talked
But I
about,
wasn't certain if I thought we were going to talk
no,
about G8 when we got, okay,
no,
perfect.
Still gonna go
we
back.
were talking about G8. We'll get to G7 in a second.
Okay.
All right, G8, that's where we are, with the agreement with NWEA MAP Test Education Services.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Member Valadeo, seconded by Member Gattuso to approve the agreement with NWEA MAP Test Education Services. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it's carried. All right, item G7, which was pulled, is the agreement with Clifford Moss Communication Support and Election Planning. So we haven't approved going to a bond yet. Is hiring Clifford Moss going to, is this the process for them to give us more information to finally approve that process? Or where is this going?
Yes, so I put a contract here for the board approval because we want, if the board gave me direction and we want to move forward with the ballot 2026 November, then we can immediately starting with the communication. So pretty much what they do is they help us in 2018 Measure X. So they go out and communicate to the community. They don't advocate for us, say yes or no, but they provide information, educating the community about the bond. So because the timing right now between now and August, where you need to put in your ballot, is really short. So that's why I don't want to waste the months of time. So if the board approves this tonight, I will still need direction from you. That doesn't mean I will sign a contract. Board approval doesn't mean I will agree to that. So if the board says yes, we'd like to move forward, with the ballot measure, and then I can go ahead and sign the agreement and then start working with our consultant. Yeah.
Okay, so we had the presentation about the prospects of the bond. When is that actually coming to us for a vote?
So I was trying to schedule, work Dr. Ricci's trying to schedule a day, bring back to the board, and to get your direction on that, so.
Part of the work with the communication firm, because where we're at in the timeline before we have that August deadline, is that we would be able to start talking strategy with them in terms of how to communicate this out and be able to have that in place so that when and if the board decides, we'd like to go forward the bond, we already have a strategy in place. We're not having to spend time to bring these things up to speed. When we bring it back to the board, we can bring it back, like it would have to be either at the April board meeting or at a special board meeting if we decide that we want to do it more rapidly. And that'd be something that we will we'll bring up and talk through with the facilities committee.
All right. Looks like Ms. Gattuso had a question.
Mine hasn't gone off yet,
Oh.
so I get to still. I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you're asking us to approve it, and you're not going to basically activate it unless we approve a bond. But are you going to give us a blood oath that we're approving it, and then we've approved it? And what says that you just don't get them to start working on it? Do you see? I mean, it's a little unnerving.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Thank you. That's indeed the case. Pretty much again, right? We had until August to put this onto the ballot. So if the board decide to approve this contract tonight, doesn't automatically means they will start their work. I will still need to get directions from all of you approving if we're moving forward the bond measure.
I understand that, but do you
Also-
see the implication that I'm trying to, I mean,
Yes.
it's like,
Yes.
we're
Absolutely.
approving it. Approving it is approving it.
Uh-huh.
So we're giving you the okay if we're approving it. So I would feel more comfortable. I know we want to streamline it and
Right.
make it quick, but I would rather kind of wait until we,
Approve it till when we vote, the same day we vote.
yeah, or, I mean,
I'd
it's.
say if it makes the board feel more comfortable, we can go ahead and pull this item and bring it back at a future date when and
So we
if
can
the
have more
board decides to.
discussion on the.
Hang on. Unless,
Okay, wait a minute. Get the button pushed here.
unless there's some real strategic reason to approve this tonight, I just want to know. I mean, you put it on here for a reason. So is there a reason why it needs to be approved even before we decide whether we're going out with a bond or not?
Yes. So pretty much, again, like Dr. Ritchie said, they want to start early to communicate a strategy to help the district develop a strategy to communicate to the community. They didn't want to know what the stakeholder out there, the one with the loud voices. They want to understand where by analyzing the data of the survey, how can they reach out to those early as possible? So the more time they have, the more successful communication it will be to our community. And so again, the timing is really at the essence.
Right, but so going to Lori's point, if we approve the contract and they go out now and they start communicating, but then we don't approve that we want to even put a bond out there.
Absolutely.
We've spent money on them doing something that we're not going to use.
They actually would not act until I sign the contract and send it back. Even I get it. Even the board approved the contract, say yes, it's approved. But if I don't sign it, it's not legally binding. There's no legal binding on that agreement. So,
I understand what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it still gives you the ability to sign it whenever you want because we've approved it. That's my point.
Yes.
So
I totally,
I'm
completely,
just,
yeah.
it's just making me a little nervous. I don't feel like I'm doing my, true what I'm here for by giving approval before we even know what we're going to be doing.
No, fair enough. So what I propose that we'll go ahead and we'll pull it.
Well, we have a
tonight.
couple more comments, so let's hear those
absolutely.
first, okay?
Everybody-
Ms. Valdez.
Well, he's going to say exactly what I'm going to say. I think it's logical to pull it. I think if it's a time essence, let's have a special board meeting, get our approval, and we would, I think, all feel more comfortable with that.
Perfect.
Ms. Smith?
My concern was generating fees prior to it being approved, but I think it was been answered already.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll pull it.
Okay.
And we'll bring it back at a later date if and when the board decides that they want to move forward with a bond.
All right, so under the consent calendar, item G7 was pulled for consideration at a later date. With that, we're going to reporting out of closed session. And we had 5 items in closed session. Only one was an action item, excuse me, 2 were action items. Closed session C1, request for waiver from physical education graduation requirement for a Pacheco High School student, number 5519186. The board approved that request. Motion was by Member Smith, seconded by Member Gattuso. There were 7 yeses, no nos, no abstentions, and no absences. On to item C4, C4, conference with labor negotiators, section 54957.6. Agency negotiators were Tammy Calzadias, Cypherly, and Sean Ritchie. Employee organization CSEA, and this is in regards to a level 4 CSEA grievance filed on 3/12/2026. The board denied that grievance. Motion by Moran, seconded by Valadeo. There were 7 yeses, no nos, no abstentions, and no absences. And that is all of the items to report out from closed session. Next up is discussion, information, and future agenda items. Anybody have anything? All right. Seeing none, then next item is closed session, but we finished everything we needed to do. Took us a couple extra minutes. That's why we started a few minutes late. And with that, wish everybody a happy Pie Day on Saturday. Enjoy a nice piece of pie and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you all for being here. Good night, everybody. Drive home safely. We are adjourned at 9:55.
Thank you all for staying. Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz.